waste my life. I don't wanna waste my time. I don't wanna waste my life. Living in this world.
With the Beatz.
It's just some things, there's no going back. You know what I'm saying?
jwoodbeats.com.
Yeah, I'm not the one with the issues. I hear you. Now here is your tissue. If I'm moving too fast, I might have to dismiss you. And it's really too bad, cause I really will miss you. But I'm not the one with the issues. I left him at church when I made it official. I murdered the curse with my own benediction. Left God in the dirt, call it death of the fiction. Superstition will be served in eviction. Competition will be left in the ditch. Oh my God, it's too damn hot in this kitchen. The fishes of men are now swimming with fishes. Oops, my bad, I guess I'm moving too vicious. Verses sold, I gotta put them on your wish list. Bless my soul, cause I'm dodging your little hit list. I guess you know, you just lost another witness.
Gotta let me go, gotta let me go, gotta let me go. Gotta let me go, gotta let me go, gotta let me go right now. Gotta let me go, gotta let me go, gotta let me go. Gotta let me go, gotta let me go, gotta let me go, I'm out of here. I can do anything, fuck your opinions and energy. I finally got the epitome. My biggest hindrance was God can't do nothing but fail. Greater is me. I never needed your deity. All of this human capacity. When it gets rough, I can pick myself up and prevail. Cause I don't need anything other than people who fuck with me. Good business, it starts with good company. That's why your boy is obsessed with community. Cause greater is we. We can create opportunity, doing what God never did, cause a God never could, but a people is all we need. Gotta let me go, gotta let me go, gotta let me go, yeah. Gotta let me go, gotta let me go, gotta let me go right now. Gotta let me go, gotta let me go.
What's up, family? I might be a little biased, but that's a whole bop. I mean, I am a little biased. I mean, it's me, but damn, that felt good. Anyway, welcome in, everybody. It's so good to see y'all. As you know, it's already been a busy day, man. I mean, like, it's been incredibly busy. Like, I just full-sized my screen, and I don't want to do that yet because I got some stuff to show y'all, man. Tonight is something different. It's something that we have not done. It's something that I've been kind of holding close to my chest. So listen, if you've not done this already, you need to share this stream. Make sure you're sharing this thing. Let's get this out because tonight I got a group of heathens on with me tonight. Like literally, man, these are heathens. No, for real. These are real heathens. Y'all gonna find out just how heathen this shit can get tonight. We're actually gonna have a really good time. In all seriousness, this is a cast of friends that I just met over the past year in participating in a documentary, which we're going to talk a little bit more about. I know I've shared some insight a little bit when announcing this, but we'll talk more. All right, so I have to do kind of like my stuff. So first of all, if you haven't already, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that alert notification bell, consider joining, connecting, or supporting this community channel or content in any way that makes sense for you. I did say share this stream, so if you haven't done that yet, what the fuck are you waiting on? And of course, check out our merch because we have really dope merch and really dope books, and that's an incredible way to start supporting the mission of building community beyond superstition, you know, while spreading our values and giving yourself something to sport. I mean, if I'm going to support, I want something to sport, so I mean, it works, right? All right, I got to hit you with a few announcements before I bring up the cast, and so let's talk a little bit. Big thing is we just kicked off a new series of conversations for our Sunday sessions called Unfuckwithable. If you were a part of that today, will you let people know how fire that was in the chat? You just let them know so I don't got to brag, but damn, it was an incredible conversation. Like I almost felt like I was back in church. Like it got a little weird, man. Like it was good today. Like I did some singing and everything. Like, wow. And then, of course, let us know where you are watching from. This is something that we've been intentional about, whether we're doing pre-recorded content or whether we're doing live stuff. We want to know where you're watching from. Drop it in the state, drop it in the chat, city, state, province, because, that little dot, that's where I am, or approximately where I am. I didn't put my address in there. I don't want y'all stalking me. This is YouTube. I don't know how it go out here. But to give you a good idea how things have grown since last year when we first started this channel, like that one dot has spread consistently. And so like, this is how we find out, this is how we determine where we're going to do things at. This is how we determine where we're going to invest some time at. And so that's why you see like the Carolinas over here, like a little hot spot. You got dots on top of dots on top of dots. But just in case you thought that it was just the U.S., we've spread out down there, lit into the islands. We're a little bit into South America, but just in case you thought it's just on the west. Oh man, we in the motherland. And even more so, like I am shocked just how much of Europe we're in. Damn it, there's a pin in Russia. That could be a bot. I'm not sure. We'll find out one day for sure. But South Korea, damn it, literally on every continent except Antarctica, because there's only scientists there, and scientists should be interested in what we're doing too. So maybe we'll get one of them one day too. But anyway, let us know where you're watching from. City, state, province, whatever it is. I don't know how it goes outside of the United States, so I ain't even gonna pretend, bruh, and embarrass myself like that. Can't do that to myself. All right, so what else do I have? Oh yes, Bridge City Weekends, Raleigh. Look at that. That's coming up. Like that's in April. Tentatively for April 19th, April 20th. This is our first on-site event as a community. And like, honestly, I don't know if I saw this coming this soon, but I'm really excited about it. So April 19th, April 20th, tentatively, we're going to be in Raleigh, North Carolina. We're going to be doing the Bible study with an ex-pastor. We're going to be doing Sunday sessions, which we're starting a new series of conversations called Happy Little Accidents. And so like I'm pulling on Bob Ross and Rick Ross for that. So I think we're going to have fun. I mean, have you ever thought about that before? Bob Ross and Rick Ross? Like, it's going to be fun. Trust me. You know what I mean? So we're going to do that. And then we're going to do the Ex-Pastor Call-In show live. And then also just in between that, we're going to have a really good time. We're going to do a post-faith house party. I'm doing my best to get Drew down because he does these a lot. I've been wanting to do house parties for a minute. It's been a part of the Bridge City vision ever since I've thought about it. But then Drew is already doing these things, and his things are like sinfully delightful. So I'm like, hey, bro, you got to come and host this one for us. So I just know how it's done right. Like I'm a noob in this space. Like I'm a noob heathen. Show me how to heathen the right way. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to do that. But also we're going to be doing stuff for the family, for the kids, man. We're going to do a secular Easter egg hunt, which is kind of like why we set it up this way. I don't know what that's going to look like yet, but we got people talking about it. So I'm sure it's going to be good. So make sure you go check that out. And I think we have a website now. No, we do. I had to design it over this weekend. I had so much stuff that I wanted to do and didn't get everything that I wanted to do, but I did get that website done. And then we got people already registering. And then we also have the crowdfunding campaign because we want to make sure that it's free because it's a community event. And I don't want there to be a paywall for community events if we're trying to make it attractive. You know what I'm saying? My goal is to have live music there. I'm telling you, I want this joint to be off the chain. We'll see. It'll either be us hanging out, eating some pizza, or it'll be a full damn shindig. But whichever way it go, I'm here for it. All right. So what else do I have? And last but not least, we are doing, Jason is actually coming back on the channel. He spent the whole book of Exodus with me in Bible study with an ex-pastor. And we had such a good time. And Jason's, I don't know if y'all ever seen the quality of his content, but it is so dope. And so he asked me, he said, hey man, why don't we come together and do something for people and talk to them about, how they set up their content. He says his quality is like it's bananas. My quantity, come on now. It's kind of out of this world, right? That's I've just been doing videos since February, and already it's 470 of these motherfuckers. You understand? Don't sleep on your boy. But like I told y'all, I'm hyper productive. It's not a flex. It's just who I am. All right. So are y'all ready for this conversation? Again, make sure y'all like the video. Have y'all done that? Have y'all subscribed to the channel? Have you hit the alert notification bell? Have you shared this fucking stream? Because it's about to go down. Are y'all ready? I'm about to bring 3 of my friends on this place. And I think this is the first time we've ever had a conversation outside of being in production. Other than AT. Y'all have met AT, so I'm gonna bring him on first because y'all have met him. Bam. AT, welcome back, man.
Hey, howdy.
How you feeling? How are you feeling since the last time you've been on with us?
Well, I had COVID From as soon as I got back from the last production trip, I was down from the 19th of December all the way through to like January the 4th or 5th with COVID.
Wow.
I'd never had it before. It's the worst thing I ever had in my whole life.
Yikes.
It
Can I ask you
sucked.
this? When you
Sure.
had it, did you think about praying to Jesus?
No, not particularly. I kept thinking, gee, if I only had a higher income, I could have got some of that expensive Paxlovid instead of just having to raw dog this shit. Because that's what I was doing, man. It's like they said, well, you got any insurance? No, I don't have any insurance. What about antiviral? Well, you can't afford that. Oh,
Wow.
okay. And so we went.
Oh, that's rough.
Yeah, well, my wife had it too, Elisa, at the same time, and so she looked it up, and it's like, yeah, we can't afford that $1,700 a pop.
Man.
The cheapest she found for Paxlovid, which is the one they use for COVID, and it was, yeah, I've known for a while now, you know, ever since I lost my job, and even then I wasn't like on the rich end of the preacher scale. I was like on the poor end.
Yeah.
It has been emphasized to me that I am white trash. You know?
Oh, you know what? Look, I can't say nothing else after that. So I'm going to go ahead and bring H.G. Roberts on the screen and Natalie. All right. Okay. So, man, I'm going to let everybody talk in a moment because, but first, I just got to breathe in this, man. We're only missing one. But I just got to breathe in this. Just seeing all of y'all for the first time outside of this is like, it's different, right? And so I'm gonna get this popped off. I do have a question, and what we're gonna do, since I've already talked to AT a little bit, and our audience knows and loves AT. He came on with the Ex-Pastor call-in show with us last month, along with some other ex-pastors, which was like actually our highest Ex-Pastor viewed show. So it was incredible.
Fire.
Like, it wasn't it though? Didn't it feel like revival, man? If there was an atheist revival, that was it. That was it. Like, them brothers were preaching, man. Like, yikes. All right, so this is what we're gonna do, and I'm gonna ask this question, Natalie. We're gonna start with you, and then HG, we're gonna go over to you, and then we're gonna come back over to you, AT. Okay. All right. So before we get into the documentary, will you just kind of share with our audience a little bit about yourself and where your life is at now? Like, we'll get into the deconstruction aspect a little later. So just tell us who you are and where you are at this moment in life.
Hello, my name is Natalie. That's Natalie, 2 syllables, not Natalie. Okay, let's just start there. I need to say, I was never as nervous as I am right now when we were filming the documentary. For some reason, I am like so nervous. Wow. Which is so crazy because I'm an actor. I'm an actor. That is what I do. I live in LA and that is what I pursue on a full-time basis. So for me to be nervous, like, I must really, really message you because nobody was somebody that I look up to could make me this nervous. So yeah, I'm just here chasing a dream. That's it.
Oh, man. Oh, my goodness. Okay, so now you got me over here blushing. All right. So HG, on to you. Who are you and where are you at now?
What's up, Darante and Darante's audience? I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for inviting us to come together like this. And I'm so excited about the conversation we're about to have. I'm H.G. Roberts. I'm the author of a memoir about religious trauma and deconversion called On Monsters and Phantoms. I have a music production background. I'm a songwriter. I was a music performer before. Well, it's part of my story. When I was 39 years old, I was diagnosed with this rare neuromuscular disease that has taken away my ability to play piano and almost walk. I wear leg braces and all that. And we can get into that a little bit more about why that's important in terms of my religious deconversion story. But I spent 25 years working in the healthcare industry. I run a creative services team that does audio and video production and graphic design and photography and animation for a major health system in the state of Florida. And I also have just released a YouTube channel, an H.G. Roberts YouTube channel, where I put a 10 video series on religious trauma, what it is, how it forms, who's more susceptible to it than other people, how extensive it is, and that kind of thing. We can talk a little bit more about that. But where I'm at right now, sorry, I'm still getting over this Uber virus has been going around the country.
Oh yeah.
I cough every once in a while, clear my throat. But where I'm at now is I'd say I deconverted roughly 10-ish years ago, but it's only now, over the last couple of years, that I've become much more public about that, much more vocal about that. Within my own family structure, I still have a Christian family, but I have deconverted and I've walked away from the faith. And so there's some tension there, of course. And with my broader family, there's some tension there as well, because a lot of them are Christians, not all of them, but a lot of them are. So where I'm at now is I'm just trying to navigate this. I'm trying to figure out, where do I fit in the world? Where do I fit in the terms of my immediate family network, my social network, trying to make sense of, the tension that's there, and just trying to put one foot in front of the other and be who I am, and do my thing, say what I need to say, because I've been through some really, really traumatic experiences related to Christianity. And I think it's important that other people understand that they're not alone if they're going through that. And they have a friend. They have a friend in me, so to speak.
I love that, man. I love that. And y'all, please check out H.G. Roberts' channel. He's just released a 10 episode series on religious trauma, which I've already started watching. You know what I'm saying? And it's absolutely phenomenal. I've already dropped comments. Now, y'all know how YouTube works. So when you go watch it, make sure to like it. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. And please make sure to leave a comment. Let's speak to that algorithm, please. All right. AT, we're back to you, man. Tell us who you are and where you are for those who don't know.
Well, I am in deep red South Texas. Our county went 70 to 30% for Donald Trump, so you can kind of get an idea how conservative we are. Our sheriff is a constitutional sheriff, so that'll give you a little more insight. Yeah, down here in deep South Texas, I grew up down here. I live in the house I grew up in after my parents died. One thing I inherited, in all seriousness, if I hadn't inherited this house and this little 3 acres of land, I would be homeless, because after I lost my job as a preacher in 2016, I had no income, no nothing. And so I ended up being very fortunate to get this. And I retired in 2062. I was 62 in 2022, and so then I could take early, very meager retirement. But anyhow, what I'm doing right now is I'm one of the things I've learned about myself is that I am autistic, and that really opened my eyes to a lot of stuff about why I did things the way I do, and my behavior and all this kind of stuff. Things I used to think were sinful and stuff are just brain wiring problems.
Yeah.
So hey, cool. I'm involved in. I'm sorry.
Nope, you're good. You're good.
I thought you were going to ask me something.
Nah.
Well, anyhow, going back to what I was trying to say, I'm involved in something called the Clergy Project, which is a secret private group of ministers, and they recommended me to the producers of this documentary, David Cohen and Sean Harden, to be involved in it. And that's how I got involved with the documentary. That's how I met these wonderful folks. I can't say enough good things about my fellow heathens. I mean, we're all just about as pagan as we can possibly be. But hey, it's a good kind of pagan, like that old cartoon says, "Yeah, I'm hurt, Clem, but it's a good kind of hurt." We're pagans, but it's a good kind of heathen paganism.
I love it. I love it. Thank you for that, AT. And you actually already answered kind of the first question that I was going to really have, and so this is perfect. So in this way, what we'll do is we'll go to HG, and then we'll go to Natalie, and eventually we'll get kind of into a free flow. I just kind of wanted to open it up a little bit. And so AT just kind of told us how he got involved with the documentary. HG, how did you get involved with the Heathens documentary?
So, like I said, I wrote a book, a memoir. It's called On Monsters and Phantoms. It's out there in the world. You can find it on Amazon. And somehow they found it. They found that. And I guess read it. and reached out to me through my contact form on my website for my book and asked if I'd want to be a part of this documentary. And they kind of explained what it was, and they linked to some of their other work they've done, Afghan Dreamers, that other the most recent documentary that they've done, which was absolutely phenomenal. Many people have probably heard of the Afghanistan girls robotics team. They did that documentary. It was incredible. So when I saw that, and I learned a little bit more about who these filmmakers are, and that they're filmmakers with integrity, and that they want to tell stories that make a difference, and that have a real impact on the world, I was all in. And I said, yeah, this is legit. And so so they found me through my book, actually.
Wow.
And I think I was the first one, like, once they realized they wanted to do this documentary, I think I was the first one they actually reached out to.
Wow.
So I didn't know all y'all were a part of this in the beginning. I do now, of course, and I'm so happy to have met y'all. But yeah, I wasn't sure what the documentary was going to be when it first started, but now I do. I have a better feel for it now, for sure.
Wow, man. All right, Nat Lee, how did you get involved with the Heathens documentary?
So I had been privately deconstructing by myself just for maybe a year, and I turned to TikTok and I started making some videos regarding Christianity and, you know, things that I found in the Bible that were just contradictions and things like that. So one of the girls that follows me and that I follow, her name is Skeptical Heretic on TikTok, and she posted about this documentary that was happening, people who are deconstructing or whatever, and she said, fill out the form if you want to be on it. Maybe I filled it out, and I definitely 100% had no expectation of actually being chosen to be on it. I had no idea what I was getting myself into, and I did not think about it at all when I submitted myself, and I was very surprised when they chose me. And by the time I realized what I was doing, it was too late. Like, it was too late to back out. So I made the decision without thinking, and here we are.
So glad Natalie.
Me too. I needed this. I needed this community. So yeah, I'm glad I did it.
Oh man. No, okay, so wow, that's wild. Because like I think I was actually the last one to get brought on. And it was like things were like kind of a whirlwind for me when it was happening. Because I had just started making content on my channel, and I had just done a few interviews, and my channel was growing. I don't even remember who it was that reached out to me, but there was like, hey, these people are doing a documentary and they're looking for Black people, and you're Black. And I'm like, I am. I really am, you know, so let's go for it, you know. And so in all seriousness, they were like, you know, they're looking for Black males who are atheists. And I was like, okay, cool. And so like in my mind, it must be a documentary about Black atheist men, you know, like bam, Black atheist men, you know, I'm thinking, you know, and so I met with she was the casting agent, and she was also a project manager at the time. So I met with her, we talked on the phone, had a real good time. And she was like, okay, great. We're going to, you know, get you on. And I was like, okay, cool. I still didn't have a clue what it was. Like, as a matter of fact, I'll tell you, when I got to Palo Alto, you know, number one, when I got to San Francisco to the airport, I had never seen such a deficit of Black people in my entire life. Like, from the moment I left the airport, I didn't see another Black person. You know what I'm saying? Like, from San Francisco to Palo Alto, I didn't see no other Black people. And I was like, okay, this is a little odd. You know, this is a little unsettling for me. And then, of course, I've never met David and Sean. Now, obviously, I've Googled the fuck out of them, you know, just making sure, you know, everything's copacetic. But I've never met these people. I don't know how any of this stuff is going to go. I get to the hotel and I'm there and I'm like, man, what have you gotten yourself into? Like, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? And so I remember that they picked me up from the hotel. And they took me out, and then we're driving through these like weirded wood places. And I look over and I'm like, is that a fucking llama? Like, I remember that was a distinct thought in my mind. I'm like, somebody out here has like llamas just in the yard. Like, where the fuck am I now? You know, because I like to look around when I'm in new places. I like to.
I would think you'd be worried about this was the real life version of Get Out.
Oh man, no. Now, when we talk about the RFR retreat, that's what was on my mind there.
Yes.
Like, oh my goodness. But no, so got into his house and I was like, oh, so this guy's rich. Let me be on my best behavior. Okay, all right. And then when we actually got into sit down and start doing questions, I had no clue what to expect. I didn't know where we were gonna go. And I just remember like several times getting very emotional, and the cameras are still rolling. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's no moment where like you say, okay, y'all just give me a minute. Nah, everything's just still going.
No.
Everything's still going. What was that experience? And from this moment, we can just kind of pop up as it goes. But what was that experience like for you all? Natalie, we know you're already in California, so it's a little shorter trip for you. I think you still had to fly in though. So what was this like for y'all? What was that first time meeting up with them like? And what were the questions like?
Honestly,
well, I'm sorry. No, go ahead.
So I knew nothing about them. I'm listening to you guys talk, and I'm like, wait a minute. I should have looked these guys up. I didn't even look up who they were. I looked up nothing. If this was a project that was meant to like kidnap people, I would have been in their arms easily because I did not do any research. I researched the casting director to make sure that it was legit, but that was it. I didn't look up the David and Sean until like 2 months ago when we were at the retreat. That was the first time I looked them up. And I had no idea what I was getting into. I had no idea what this project was. I didn't know whose house I was at in San Francisco. Literally, I was just vibing, okay? Just there, like oblivious to it all. But it was so interesting because I had never talked about it out loud. I was doing TikTok, and that was my only platform to speak about it freely because I don't know anybody in real life who's going through this. And I really leaned on TikTok. So this is my first time not just talking at an audience and TikTok, but actually having a conversation or talking to people. And I didn't realize how emotional some of the stuff was. I didn't realize how some of this stuff has affected me my entire life, because I think a lot of you guys have been out of it for a long time. A lot of people in the documentary have been out for a long time. I'm still like newly, deconstructing. It's still really new for me. So it just blew my mind how common what I was going through was, and to have that support, like it was so something I needed, and I didn't know that I needed it.
Wow. I love that. Man.
Gotta be honest though, when I was on camera, my main thought wasn't the concern about crying and like feeling uncomfortable. I was like, do I look good? Do I still look okay? Okay.
That Hollywood actress coming out.
Exactly.
There it is. I love it.
For me, like I said, David and Sean, or actually it was Sean that reached out to me through my book's website. And we started off by having a Zoom together, me, David, and Sean, the three of us, and about an hour and a half, maybe a 2-hour Zoom, just to kind of get to know each other. And they explained a little bit of the project to me and asked me a ton of questions about my story, my background, and where I was at in life currently. And they're like, all right, man, are you want to sign up and do this? And I said, I wrote this book to tell this story to the world. And I always said, if that opportunity ever actually happened in real life, then I would say yes to it no matter what. And so I was like, I'm on board for whatever this is. And when I checked out the Afghan Dreamers documentary, and I'll fast forward. So when I get out to Palo Alto and I'm at David's house for the initial filming of my own interview, they had brought in another production person who owns her own production company in Boston to actually interview me. Her name was Beth. And before we started rolling the cameras and all that, David and Beth were talking to me about Afghan Dreamers, and they were talking about the impact that documentary has had on, I think it was 5 girls in the documentary, on their lives, and where they are today, and what Beth and David, were able to do in terms of helping those girls get out of a dangerous situation and get into a safe situation where they could actually be free to live their lives and still have an impact and tell their story. When I heard that, I was like, okay, these people are making real films about real people with real struggles, and that are changing. Literally, they are also changing the world. They are taking actionable steps to do things to help people that they're putting in these documentaries. And so I was like, all right, you guys got me. And so, so funny story, I get out to Palo Alto for the filming, and I'm like you, Darante, I'm like, where am I? What is this place?
Yes.
I'm not seeing all that, let's call it wealth, right? We'll call it what it is. And walked into the house, and, you know, the filming was probably 3 to 4 hours long. They also had me playing the piano because I'm a musician and they want to hear that side of the story and film some of that. And I couldn't play very well because this disease that I have, but I gave it a shot. But anyway, we took a break one time and I had to use the restroom, and went into the bathroom, and it was the funkiest, coolest, cleanest, most wonderful bathroom I've ever been in. And I used the bathroom, and then I couldn't figure out where's the button to flush the toilet. I know TMI, but I know you don't hold back on your shows, Darante. So
that's right. Yes.
I stood in there for a good 5
Trump toilet paper.
Right.
Trump toilet paper.
I was in there for 5 minutes. There's dials on the wall. There's buttons. There's art. There's everything. There's this and that. I'm like, I don't know what to do. And I probably just closed my eyes and hope for the best and just touch all of it. And it worked, thankfully. And I was like, all right. That's when I knew I was in a different world.
Yes.
I was in a world, and I was like, this is a different level. I'm at a different level here. And so
like, I don't understand this bathroom. I don't know what to do in here.
Yeah. And so it was a great experience, though. I mean, I'll say this, and I think Natalie said it too. Like, once I committed to this and I realized who these people were and what they wanted from all of us, they want all of us, right? They want the dark, they want the light, they want the good, they want the bad, they want the tears, they want the laughter. That's what a documentary is, right? That's legit. I'm in the production business myself, and that's what we want when we're telling stories in the healthcare organization that I work for. And so once I've given them everything I can. I've told the truth about everything, and I've gone to places that there's no way I would ever go with anybody I didn't trust, but they formed a bond with us. I think we all sort of implicitly trust that what they're doing is legit. It's good. It's going to be helpful. It's going to be a hard story that the country and the world's going to hear. But and seeing all of you guys tell your stories and be a part of this has only helped me, like, be more authentic, even more authentic, and more courage that I can be who I need to be. I can say what I need to say because I'm surrounded by, I know that our fifth person's not here, but I'm surrounded by 5 people who get it, who are living it, who are walking it out. And if they can do it, I can do it. And I kind of had that, I have kept that mentality going the whole way.
Oh man, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. AT, what was that experience like for you? That first introduction, first getting up there and doing that interview?
Well, I had an advantage in one way. Yeah, I had been involved purely by chance in another documentary called A Town Called Victoria, about our mosque being burnt down when Trump, the day of Trump instigating his Muslim ban in January of 2017. And so I got to be really good friends with the director of that particular film, a lady named Lee Liu, and I asked her if they knew anything about these folks because they were back in town showing the film after it had been finished, because it came out in 2023. And she did a little. She actually already kind of knew who they were, and her boyfriend at that time, he knew who they were, and they kind of reported back to me about it and told me that they're cool. You'll like working with them. And so I kind of had that. I didn't know that much about them as individuals. I did some Google stuff, but I was pretty excited about it. It was one of those kind of things where I didn't think I would ever do something like that.
Yeah. So
anyhow, they get me all squared away. They fly me out here from the little piddly airport we have out here in Victoria Regional Airport. I get to San Francisco, and I had bought a map because I'm old school. I use maps. Well, you can't use maps anymore, man. And so I got there, and I'm trying to find where I'm staying at on this map. They had rented a car for me, and I'm trying to find this place. I finally get there. It's like 1:30 in the morning. I finally find it because I got so fucking lost in Cisco. And I finally just got so desperate. I'd never done the Google Maps thing to navigate before, and I finally just said, Google, where the hell am I? Google, how the fuck do I get to the hotel? And that's how I got to the hotel finally. And so
that worked.
Yeah, it worked. It worked. I was really surprised because I was really frustrated. I did get to see a lot of great Christmas lights because I was there like December the 17th is when I was there, 2023. And I got to see a lot of great Christmas decorations, which was kind of cool. That wasn't the main reason I was driving around, but that's what I got to look at. And so anyhow, I got, like I said, I'm driving out there and I get out there and it's like, oh my God, these people have got so much money. Because I kind of have an antithetical relationship with wealth. If any of y'all have ever looked at my Facebook page, you kind of see I got a problem there. Just because I think they don't need that much money. Nobody needs to be a billionaire. But anyhow, I get there and David is very solicitous. He's very nice to me, and Sean, and we start talking Star Trek, and it's like we're all Trekkies. And I find out that Sean's dad was an actor who was actually in some Star Trek, and I'm like, so we're all Trekking out there, man, and live long and prosper, and the whole shebang. And live long. I do it with both hands. You don't need to do it with both.
Man, that's a rare.
So we were vibing out with the whole Trek thing. And I get, of course, that was during and after the interview, which I was really impressed with the level of questioning that they had. They were very intelligent, well thought out. I'm sorry?
Part of the map.
Yeah, they were and they didn't pull punches. If he wanted to know, were you consciously fooling people or whatever like that? Because my whole thing was I spent 6 more years after I deconverted being a pastor. Yeah. Wow. I remember him pinning me to the wall with that. And it's like, I finally just said this because this is, I had a problem with that at the time. And I said, I was feeling really guilty because I was getting up there and lying every Sunday morning. And a friend of mine told me, said, well, you just need to have it as an acting job. And you're going to play the best Southern Baptist preacher that they have ever had. Wow. I said, okay. And seriously, after I went ahead and adopted that as my modus operandi, my sermons, I got a lot more positive feedback when I started playing a Southern Baptist pastor instead of when I used to actually, have, disagreements and stuff with other theologians that I would include in my sermons, like the whole rapture thing. I never was on board for the pre-tribulational rapture of the church and dispensationalism and all that. I was a historical premillennialist. That didn't go down well with the church folks because they all wanted to get rocketed up to heaven before all that bad stuff happens. But when you're a historical premillennialist, you believe the church goes through all that stuff. And then Jesus comes back and all that. So but anyhow, I enjoyed it. I was I had a good time after I finally figured out how to drive around. I felt like such a dork out here. Look, and I didn't know how to use the maps thing. Thing or anything. I just it's like I was stuck.
Oh man, that something that you just said that I had not thought about until you just said it, and that was that you were preaching better as an atheist. Which Alyssa said something. I'll put it on the screen. Alyssa, she's on our research team. Well, she is our research team at BridgeCity Global, but she said a Southern Baptist preacher who doesn't believe is probably better than the one who does, to be honest, as a former Southern Baptist. And she's not lying, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think she's lying because, one of the things about Southern Baptist preachers is they're racist as fuck.
Yes,
All of
I
them
bet
are.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can remember I can remember in particular this one guy I always thought real highly of. I helped him out and all this, and he was telling me that his adopted niece, his sister had adopted this girl, was, as he put it, shacking up with some young buck in another town nearby there. And I said,
oh,
what are you upset
I just
about?
caught what she said. Yeah.
Yeah, just caught what he said. I said, what are you upset about? Are you upset about her shacking up, or are you upset about who she's shacking up with? He said, well, he's a black guy. And I said, so?
Oh, man.
And this was before I was an atheist. So you should, if you're going to be upset, you need to be upset about her shacking up, not about who she. Well, he's black. And I said, dude, that's racist as hell.
Yeah.
And he said,
in the words of Childish Gambino, folks, this is America. You know, that's the reminder right there.
Yeah.
But you know, like, I did.
Well, all you gotta do is watch the inauguration tomorrow, and that that says it all.
I'm gonna be skipping out on that one.
I'm
sorry, I interrupted you, Darante.
No, you're good.
I interrupted you, bro.
You mentioned becoming a better preacher, and I realized that, like, the few times I kept preaching after being an atheist, like, I was killing it. Like, I was decent before, but like after like I fully deconstructed and deconverted and it became fully performative for me, it was a whole different experience. Number one, the pressure of whether or not I'm proving God, being approved by God was completely gone. And like for the first time, like I felt free to be a performer. And it was just like, no, I'm going to give this my all. And like, I was preaching my ass off after that. Like when I look back over some of those clips after I deconverted, but was still actively preaching. And I mean, some of that was a little bit of my own church. Some of that was me preaching for mentors. And some of that was me actually preaching at Southern Baptist churches, because I went that route for a little bit. And others of that was me pastoring a little traditional Baptist church. And I was like, damn. Like as an atheist, I became so much better of a preacher. And I had never thought about that until you said it now. Like, but I'm looking back and I'm like, damn. But I guess it's because, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Along the same lines, I've never been a preacher, but like I've noticed ever since I stepped away from Christianity, my relationships with people are deeper. Like I genuinely care in a way that I haven't before, because I've always been able to just like give it to God. You know, that's just the common thing. And no matter what you're going through, the end result is give it to God. But like I can dig deeper with people because I don't have that barrier of like just passing the buck to somebody else. You know what I mean? So it's really interesting that you say that, because I've never thought about that until this conversation, that how much of my relationships with people depended on me being able to keep a distance, because it wasn't my responsibility, really. It wasn't my responsibility to have the answers. Yeah. But like now I sit with that discomfort and knowing I don't know the answer, but I can be here with you while you go through this kind of thing. Like that honesty did not exist back then, because it was not something I was allowed to believe, that I could just get through this with you without God. You know what I mean? It's such a tricky thing to think about. How many areas of your life this permeates.
And whether I consciously everybody I came in contact with was a project. And when I was a Christian,
Yes.
I was, are you saved? Are you not saved? What's my role in conversion? What's my role in God, you know, using me to help you become a Christian? And I approached every relationship that way.
Yes, sir.
And now I don't. Now I meet people on their own terms, and man, it's a lot more fun. It's a lot more rewarding to have relationships. Yeah.
Oh man.
I also find that I ask more questions. People. Like I genuinely want to know more about why do you feel this? Like, what is that coming from? And I always stopped short of asking those questions before, because I didn't have to ask those questions. It didn't matter because God had the answers. Why are you asking questions?
Why are you trying to figure it out when God has already worked it out? Yes.
Exactly. Because like I said, everything was everybody was, since I was the pastor, you're saying everything was a project. I mean, everybody I met was a project.
Yes.
Because that was that was my job. That's what they hired me to do, was to, to be the evangelist and all that, even though, we won't get into all that, trying to get everybody to witness for Jesus stuff. But yeah, so everybody was a project. And
man,
I had no personality or relationship with people in the church or even outside the church to a large extent, except the preacher.
Wow. Yeah.
I was the pastor. I was the preacher. And apparently people still think I'm a preacher sometimes. I don't know. I guess I just look like one and act like one. But after they talk to me for a little bit, a few F-bombs fly out, they start reconsidering that. But it limits you. Like you're saying, Natalie, it limits your ability to have relationships.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, God takes care of it. And it also reduces you from a real person to a representative of Christ, an ambassador for Christ.
Yes.
As opposed to who you really are, you know? And I still remember people, like, they'd let a cuss word. So, oh, I'm so sorry, preacher. I didn't mean, well, it's like, I don't care. I never cared. Even when I wasn't an atheist. You drop I don't care. I'm not going to get mad. I don't think God's going to smack you down for that.
Man.
Oh, but no, don't worry about it. Yeah. So, and the interview process I went through with them, it really helped. It actually made me think about some of this stuff more deeply. I didn't have some of these insights before I visited with them.
I do want to ask a question.
Yeah.
I've heard you guys tell your story now about how you got involved with the documentary, but now I'm curious why. Like, why did you guys ultimately decide I want to do this? Because for me, I literally just jumped at the chance to be able to talk about it finally. Like, I needed to talk about it. And then once I realized that, oh, these guys are really about it. Like, they really do this. And I did some research in them and the previous documentary. And when I really looked into it, I was like, oh, this could actually change.
Yes.
Some people really benefit from us telling our stories. I was like, oh, we have to do this. I was so much more gung ho, but that's where it started for me, just wanting to finally talk about it with somebody.
Wow.
Yeah.
What did you guys?
You go, Darante.
Why did we get involved?
Yeah. I know.
Tell us, Darante.
For me, so I was an atheist sort of in the closet for 10 years, from 2014 to 2024. And I remember I stopped pastoring in 2014 and I started working for one of my mentors, just preaching at his church. And he knew that I was having doubts, but he didn't know that I was an atheist. But he still, let me preach, even though I was shacking up, and he knew that I was. But I had, as an atheist, the biggest thing is that I'd become more unapologetic, right? About myself. And so it was just like, this is me. You can take it or leave it. I'm good at what I do. You're not paying me for who I fuck. So let's not even go there. So I preached for him for a while. And then I realized I didn't want to work for people who have an imaginary friend, because they can change their mind anytime they want to. And so I resigned. I still worked. I got voted in as a executive director of community relations for the Calhoun Baptist Association. As a matter of fact, if you look up my name and Calhoun Baptist Association, you're going to find two things. You're going to find a picture of me in front of the building, and then you're going to find a GoFundMe of when I actually got fired from that organization when they found out that I no longer believed in Jesus.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, it was a rough situation. And it was that small period of time that kind of pushed me in the closet, because I found out very quickly that my life no longer had any value if people thought that I didn't believe in Jesus. I had a family member literally tell me that I deserved what was happening to me because I didn't believe in Jesus. Didn't matter that I was innocent of everything that was happening. Didn't matter. You don't believe in Jesus. And so I was like, oh, okay, all right. So I spent the next 10 years learning people. I spent the next 10 years paying attention. And at the end of 2024, I was in a business meeting with somebody. And this person knew that I used to be a pastor, and this person is a believer. And at the end of that business meeting, or the beginning of the business meeting, they demanded that we pray. And they're like, they want me to open up in prayer. Now that had become like a pet peeve of mine, because everywhere that I go and get invited to where people were eating, they were like, well, we want you to bless the food. And so I'd always try to do my own version of the blessing without mentioning any deity. And so I did it in this meeting. And this person, when we got finished, said, in Jesus' name, amen. Because I didn't say in Jesus' name. So they just had to throw that on there. And at that moment, yep, you know what I'm saying? At that moment, I felt like something kind of snapped in me, because I was like, you know what? I'm not doing this shit anymore. I am tired of having to conform. I am tired of having to pretend like I am not who I am. And it became a bigger thought for me, because that's how my whole family was treating me. That's how anybody who was in my circle was treating me. Like, my atheism was a phase. It was something that was going to go away, and it was something that was not to be talked about. And if you just force enough gospel music around them, and if you force them to say the blessing enough, eventually the Holy Spirit will come back in them. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just, and at that moment I said, you know what? I don't want this. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be a part of these type of relationships, because the biggest thought for me became, it's robbing me of real relationships. I have so many fake relationships in my life. I don't have anybody to talk to. I don't have anybody who I can have a genuine relationship with. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so I was like, so when the opportunity came, I was like, hell yeah, this is it. I'm in here. I am in here, because it caught me at the right time. It caught me at the beginning of 2025, and I had already stepped out the closet wide ass open. You know what I'm saying? And so when it came, I was like, no, let's go, because I'm here to tell my fucking story. I'm not going back in that closet for nobody. I'm too fucking big for the box. And then I just, like, it was also that reality of realizing that, no, I have something to say. I do have a story to tell, and I'm fucking good at telling it. And so I am a unique instrument that is perfectly fit for this assignment. And I'm taking this shit with pride, because I'm hoping that somebody sees this documentary and decides to put that Bible down like crack. Gets up, you know what? I'm through, and never look back at it again. So that's what it was like for me. I'm sorry, I took too long.
That's good. My entry into this is probably a little darker.
No, yeah, you're cool. Yeah, because
you guys have heard me say religious trauma 100 times already, and for me, my relationship with God and Christianity toward the end was so traumatic. I believed I was evil. I believed I was the Antichrist. You guys can read about it in my memoir. How the hell did he get there? Well, you'll see it, and I'm not alone. I'm not the only one. And I started doing a lot of research on what's called adverse childhood experiences, ACEs. And if you go out there, you can go to the CDC's website. There's a lot of literature out there on adverse childhood experiences, and the fact that they've done studies. This is a real quick synopsis, where if you as a child experienced there's some documented adverse childhood experiences like sexual abuse or physical abuse, or your parents were incarcerated or whatever. There's a list of things. If you experience those things, especially things, you have a higher likelihood when you age into adulthood of contract, mental health conditions, physical health conditions like COPD or different cancer or heart disease and stuff like that. Wow. They've done some major studies. Kaiser Permanente back around 2000 did a major study that correlates this stuff. And since then, they've been able to affirm this and show that people with adverse childhood experiences are far more susceptible and prone to having maladies onset as an adult. and a lot of different things, obesity, things like that. So they've made those connections now, and the science is beginning to understand, tell us why. Because when you have protracted adverse childhood experiences, your brain gets rewired a little bit. When you're in constant flight or fight mode as a child, then that messes with your neurochemistry, basically. And, you're more prone to addiction and things like that. So once I started realizing, I started putting the pieces together and saying, I was sexually abused as a 7-year-old. And then I was pursued by another male pedophile when I was a freshman in high school. I was also physically abused as a kid. And so I was able to then say my religious trauma was rooted in my adverse childhood experiences and the fact that I began to see God as an abusive monster. It took 25 years to get there, but I got there, and I was able to put all those pieces together. And if you watch my religious trauma series, that's what this is all about, right? It's like it's exposing the fact that people who go through these things as children are far more likely, based on my research, my observations, things like that, to develop religious trauma. They get older, right? Seems obvious, but yes, that it is true. And so once I deconverted and I walked away from Christianity and I wrote my book, and I said, I've got to tell this story. I've got to track religious trauma back to adverse childhood experiences, because it's not a story that's really being told very effectively out there. I know we mention religious trauma and people throw it around and stuff like that, but I'm here to say I've lived through some severe religious trauma, and let me tell you what it really looks like, what it really feels like, how it really develops, what my childhood history was, what my mental temperament was, and stuff like that. And I'm bringing all this together into the research now. But I started joining like social media forums, like on Reddit. There's ex-evangelical there's Christian subreddits, there's childhood trauma subreddits and stuff like that. And I started paying attention to what people were saying in those subreddits. And I was like, oh my God, there are so many people dealing with religious trauma and not necessarily able to tie that back to their adverse childhood experiences. They'd say, I was abused when I was a kid. They might say it in passing, but they weren't making that connection yet. And I'm like, okay, somebody's got to make a connection for people. Somebody's tell this story in such a way that it all comes together and makes sense for people. And so that's why when I wrote the book, I said, if I ever have a chance to tell this story more broadly, and then of course, when they came and approached me about the documentary, I'm like, I will be the guy. I'll be the guy that says I was sexually molested as a kid. I'll describe it to you if you want. I will do everything about that and how it connects the dots all the way up to religious trauma, and I am not alone.
Man,
so, but
that is beautiful.
Darante and AT, you guys will know this. Natalie, so will you. Nobody's going to talk about this stuff in church, right? Nobody's going to bring up the fact that I was sexually abused, causing me to maybe God is an abusive mom. And by the way, we all know there are a zillion scriptures in the Bible that present God as a gaslighting, abusive, maniacal tyrant.
Come on.
Whatever, right? And I know there's plenty of scriptures that he's love, he's mercy.
Oh yeah.
I get it all. I understand all that. And so when I started seeing these people in these subreddits, I was like, okay, this story has to be told. People have to start being able to make sense of their traumatic childhoods, their religious trauma, and connecting all these dots. That's that. That's why I said yes, and I will always say yes to stuff like this. I believe in the value of stuff.
I love that. And I'm just going to answer a quick question that came in the private chat. Kyle, I was not expecting to take calls tonight, but if we have one, I don't mind platforming it. So y'all can use the Ex-Pastor call-in stage for that if we do that. But yeah. All right. So that's like, this is good conversation, man. So I have a question for you all. How did you feel when you met the rest of the cast? Because I'm an ear hustler. So when I was there in Palo Alto, I remember I think Natalie was at the airport and they were talking to her, trying to get her there. And so I was like, okay, who is that? Because I'm trying to figure out just who's all involved, you know? And so I didn't get to meet any of you until the excursion, the Recovering from Religion fall excursion. What was that experience like when you met everybody else and kind of heard everybody else's story? And anybody can jump up first who wants to.
I just talked, so I'll go last.
Well, I know I met HG first. Yeah, I met him first, and then you showed up on Saturday, but I got in late on Friday because once again my flight got delayed and the hurricane shit was going on and stuff, and I had tree across the road. I couldn't, it was a mess. But anyhow, I got there, and it was just exciting to meet somebody else who was involved in the project, and just overall the whole excursion thing. I really had never been around that many atheists at one time, and it just was a sort of a giddy feeling. And then when I got to meet Natalie and Sarah and Darante, it just was exponentially exciting. Even though I didn't get to spend a whole lot of time with Natalie and Sarah, because y'all came in on Sunday, I believe it was. And then, we went back to the hotel that evening, and then everybody left earlier in the day than I did. So, but it was great. It was great to meet more people who were wanting to let folks learn from their experiences. And say, hey, I didn't become an atheist because I woke up one day and said, ooh, I haven't been sinning enough. I want to sin more. I woke up one day when I realized that, hey, this stuff is a fairy tale. It's not worth building your life on.
Come on.
So I again had no idea what this project was. Even now, I'm still kind of unsure, really.
Sean play things close to the vest. I think we could all.
They do. Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
A lot of questions. I'm just like, it's going to be what it's going to be. Yeah, go ahead.
My first realization that there were other participants was when I was in Florida. And HG, I think you were coming to do your interview right after mine, and they mentioned you, and I was like, oh, there are other. Oh, okay. So it was starting to come together. And so when we went to the retreat, I didn't know what to expect. I honestly was like, I'm not much of a people person. I'm so introverted, and I'm not a person that goes out and does things with a lot of people. So I was very reserved and not wanting to be around. I even sat in the back, and they were like, hey, can you come sit a little closer so we can actually film you here? And I was like, I had no intention of participating, but I was just going to watch. That's what I do, just observe. Mm-hmm. And then I saw you, Darante. I didn't know you were part of the documentary. I didn't know who was who yet. So I saw you, and you were talking, and I'm like, is this guy running this thing? This guy is he has such things to say that were so profound. And I was like I like this guy. And then I realized you were one of the participants, and I was like, oh my gosh. Oh, they're all sprinkled into the audience. I did not know, because I didn't have a chance to meet you guys beforehand. So I loved talking to you guys. But I think more importantly has been what's happened after. I love the fact that we can talk to each other. We have a group chat. We can chat individually. It's been so important to me, because as I come back from these things associated with the documentary, I still don't have somebody in person to talk to, really. Right, so you guys have been my lifeline. And Sarah's not here, but she's down the street. So we're going to get lunch together next week. And it's been so amazing to have some people to talk to in person and to relate to, and to find other things that we relate to besides just this, but also to be able to tie so many things back to it. And I've loved meeting you guys. It's been so cool.
That I agree. And so, we were in Charlottesville, Virginia for this conference that they all brought us to, and they were going to film us while we were there. It was, we can say it, right, Darante? It was the Recovering from Religion Fall.
Yep, we can say it. Yep.
So if y'all don't know Recovering from Religion, great organization, great leadership there. They do a lot of great things for people who dealing with religious trauma or have just been harmed by this belief system in general. And so I got there, and I remember David pointed across the room and he said, "That's Darante. He's one of the other cast members in this film." And you were just sitting there, you had your cap on, and you were sort of back, taking it all in. And you know what I immediately thought? You know what I immediately said? I said, that's part of my tribe right there. I said, I don't know this guy in my life, you know, and then Al, AT comes in, and then Sarah and Natalie came in the following day. And David and Sean are pointing out, there's Sarah and Natalie and AT. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know these people yet, but I know I'm surrounded by family, and I know I'm surrounded by my tribe. And I know that no matter what, these people got my back, and
Yeah.
I've got their back. And, like Natalie and I, we've had some text conversations, talking about some things, dealing with our various struggles and what struggles with deconversion and stuff like that, kind of helping each other out and giving each other some encouragement and some resources to look at and stuff like that. And that's the power of this, right? And that's just happening between two of us cast members. But I am certain through this project that we're doing with you, Darante, here, and others, that, we will be, in a sense, a lifeline and a resource for other people who are starting this journey, or are halfway through this journey, or have gone through this journey and still can't make sense out of what's going on. Not like we got it all figured out, but we got to lead on to help figure it out. And so that's what I thought when I first saw y'all. I'm like, that's my new family. I don't know these people yet. I'm gonna get to know.
You know what? when we all exchanged numbers when we met, I was just like, these people are probably not going to talk to me anymore. Like, this is fun. But like, that's genuinely what happens. You make connections with people, and then you guys go off into your own worlds. Yep. But like, I so wanted to be able to continue connecting with you guys. And the fact that we has meant the world. Like, I feel like, Darante, you stress this a lot. Like, community is so important. And that's the thing that is the hardest about leaving religion, is losing out on the community. Like, it's a package deal. It's like leaving a woman who has children. Like, you don't get to break up with the woman and still have a relationship with the children. Like, you have to let go of it all. So losing that was so hard for me. So being able to see that I can get it in such a genuine way that feels real. Like you said, HG, just knowing that, oh, these are my people. I know I can reach out at any point and text anybody, and like, somebody's got me. All of y'all got me. And it's been so important. Like, I have needed it, because it's been some dark days.
Yes, there have been. Let's be real about that.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Oh man. All right. So I have to ask this then, since we're on the subject of being at this recovering from religion fall excursion. What was the most memorable or unexpected moment at that event for you? I have a few in mind, so I'm curious. Like, what was it for y'all?
I didn't know what to expect from this conference, to be honest. And I'll just share it here. And I think I might have even shared it on camera for the documentary. But I was like, you want to talk about, I don't know what I'm getting myself into? Like, I said yes to go into the conference, right? Because I knew that filming us, and they were going to bring us all together. And it was an important weekend up in Charlottesville, Virginia and stuff. And I was like, I got there and I saw people, and kind of like Natalie, I'm not, I like to sit back and read and react and observe. I'm an introvert by nature. And so there are all these group activities and group discussions.
Yes.
I'm still processing all this. I don't know where I stand on sexual identity and all these other topics that were brought up. But it was when, man, oh man, when they lit that bonfire, right? And so it was night, and they're like, we're going to have a fire out in this open clearing. We're going to start this fire, and we're going to all gather around this fire, and we're going to get after it. Right. And I was like, get after what? What are we? I was like, is this, I honestly thought, I'll be honest here. I was like, is this going to be some pagan ritual, sort of blood sacrifice? Like, what are we about? I made the dumb assumption, right? The uninformed, dumb assumption. I admit this. I'm like, now that like this conference was for atheists and people who wanted to so distance themselves from Christianity or other religions or whatever, to such a degree that we were now going to participate in these satanic or pagan rituals to heal people of their indoctrination and all that. I'm like, I didn't sign up for that. Like, that's not what I'm about. Like, whatever. And then they explained what the fire was for. And it was symbolic to, like, pack something from your past into the fire, burn it. Like, whether it was a Bible or a page in the Bible or a letter written from a family member that, excoriated you for your deconversion or whatever it is. And I was like, oh, that's what we're doing here. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's we're not going to dance around this fire and call out to whatever. And I think people who do that and live that life, like, I get it now. I understand why that's a thing and all that. But so when I had the opportunity, Darante, you helped me down because of my disability. I'll never forget that moment, right? And you said it like what community looks like when somebody puts their arm on another person and is helped to, move to another moment or another place because of the help and support from that other person. That's what community looks like. And I was able to burn that scripture in Romans about God creating some vessels for honorable use and some for dishonorable use. That was the number one scripture that bred my trauma. Is like, oh, am I one of the ones bred for dishonor, for God's wrath, for dishonorable use? Another translation that says that God makes vessels to throw garbage into. There's different translations. And man, so that was the number one moment for me, was standing at that fire, looking back on that crowd and telling a little bit of this story and what it means to be sexually abused from a kid, and never being able to get out of your mind that maybe you were created for dishonorable use from the beginning. And God isn't you and calling you into his family, even though you thought he was and you wanted him to, and all that. So yeah, that was my moment.
Man, like I'm gonna tag onto that, and then I'm gonna let AT go for a moment, because like that was like that whole event was weird for me, because of course I got there late because of flight delays, and so I had to sleep a little bit when I got there. Everybody on my channel knows I'm a smoker, so I had to keep dodging off to find a place to take a little smoke break at. And then of course, like I traveled in a plane, so you can't like take like weed and shit on the plane, so you couldn't bring that with me. So I was like, I'm up here with no weed. I'm just dealing with tobacco. And just before that happened, I was talking to a brother. We were just in a conversation, you know what I'm saying? Just conversation about music and stuff. Like, what do you do? I sing, I rap, I do this. Oh, you do it too? Okay, cool. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Hey, I'm about to go up here and smoke a blunt. You're the one I've been looking for this whole time. Yes. So like I had ducked off, and like he and I had went up by the tennis court, up there having a good conversation while the whole thing was going on. So that's why I ended up. That's why I was late,
Wow.
And so, but when I got down there, because kind of like you, HG, like I saw it on the itinerary, Ethiopian ritual, and I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for that yet. Yeah. But then one of my friends was going to be actually doing it, which is Helen Green, and she ended up not doing it. And so I was like, okay, I got to go if Helen does it. But then like at that moment, I was just so flustered. I was just like, there's a blunt up there. Let's go. And so got back down there after feeling really good. And actually the dude that I met is real cool, really cool peeps. I was hoping that I could have got to meet him again in LA. But because he was with Shelly. So we get down there and I start hearing everybody.
Oh yeah. I remember him.
Yeah. You remember? Yep. I started hearing everybody's stories, and I'm just like, oh man, this is legit. Like this is authentic. Like people are talking about real trauma that they've dealt with, and I didn't come prepared to share anything, because again, I was just ducked off smoking the blunt. And so like I had to run back into my cabin and like write something down, because this movement was that moment was so moving that I immediately, and I mean, it could have been the ganja helping me think that shit through, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh no, I immediately know what I want to do. But I got down there. It was a powerful moment for me. Like I can almost remember everybody's verbatim. I definitely remember HG's, and I definitely remember AT's, because they both made an impression on me. But I just had to tag on that because that moment was so cool. Somebody said purple people eater. That's hilarious. All right. So AT, like what was the moment for you, man? Like what was the most memorable or unexpected moment at the excursion?
I think for me, it was writing the song.
Yes.
I mean, I got a lot out of the bonfire, obviously, but really for me, it was participating in the songwriting exercise. That was just so meaningful and moving to me. And I was just, when they said, hey, we're going to record this in a studio, and would you be interested in coming along? And I said, oh, hell yeah. But that, the whole thing was like a big eye-opening, what's the word I'm looking for? That's why when we get old, you forget things. But anyhow, it was almost like a transcendent. That's the word I'm looking for. The whole weekend was transcendent. But for me, the songwriting really, it really tapped in. It helped me, and I felt very inspired by it. And then at the bonfire, that was kind of like the second thing was where, I finally gave up on this idea that my life was over. When I lost my job, and I spent, 2016 through I retired when my whole life was just over with. I'm just basically waiting to die. And kind of just, that whole thing from watching other people and just the whole inspiration of the weekend up to that point disabused me of that idea because, I got other things to do. And I do other things.
Yes, sir.
They may not be big and flashy, but hey, I'm out there and I'm not building my own casket or anything.
AT, that you say
but
that.
Yeah, I really got a lot out of the songwriting exercise. That for me was the pinpoint experience.
Man.
It's kind of similar to yours, AT, because
I'm sorry, your audio disappeared on me.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
I can hear you.
So I wasn't there very long. I only got to do the
okay.
and then speak with you guys and stuff afterwards. But when I got there, Darante kind of had similar thoughts of like, I don't know if I'm gonna want to participate in like this kind of stuff. Mainly, I was thinking, I just left religion. I don't want to spend my life now talking about religion.
Right.
Like I don't want that to be the thing that is constantly my focus, because then I feel like I'm going to be the same situation that I was in before. I don't want this to be my life. So I wasn't necessarily looking forward to a whole weekend of talking about religion,
Yeah.
But so when I went into the songwriting class, again, I had every intention of just sitting there and not participating. I was just watching and then just enjoying everybody, chime in here and there. But something happened in that class that has stuck with me since I left. Like even to this, every single day it affects me, because I think that class gave me permission to pursue things outside of God. Because everything I did, my acting career, my singing, anything that I learned was for God's glory. And I had put so many of those things aside for years because I was no longer believing in that. And so it felt like I couldn't detach it from God anymore. It just didn't have any pleasure for me. But when we wrote that song, I couldn't even help myself. I kept on like wanting to chime in and be like, I like that.
Yes.
For the first time in years, I helped write a song and I was like, oh my God, I used to do this and loved it. I can do the same thing. I just don't have to involve God in it. I can just do it for myself.
Yep.
And so like what's developed from that for me is every day I'm just enjoying the experience of doing things just because I want to do it. Just because it sounds like a good idea, just because I've never tried it. Like literally, it doesn't have to have any meaning whatsoever. And it has been so freeing to be able to experience that just because. Like I never thought I'd be there. And I love that feeling. I never thought I'd feel so free. Just like even the most mundane thing of like, you know what? I've never tried this on the mini before. Let's just see what happens. Literally giving myself permission to just exist and just try what the hell ever I want to try.
Wow. I love that.
Man, it has been so cool. This is, I think I talked to you about that a little bit, HG. It's like, it has been a struggle for me to really find meaning again. But creating my own meaning has been so like inspirational for me. It's opened up so many doors that I didn't know existed.
That's it. All right, BridgeCity Global, y'all already know we are the meaning makers. Like that's the point. Like meaning has so much more value when we're the ones who create it or generate it for our own lives. So I absolutely love that, and I 100% agree. The music portion, the music segment, it was something major for me. It was another one that I wasn't really planning on going to, because again, like, I didn't know what the music was going to sound like, and music is a major part of my life. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, so it's like, I don't know
if I want to do this with a
right.
Right.
But when we got there, because I remember you and Sarah being on the front row. And I remember Shelly up there with the guitar, and then Prince Michael was beside her, and then they started singing, and I'm like, oh shit! Now I'm like, I like that little melody, and then people are throwing out words, and then I'm watching everybody engage into it, and then I'm like, oh, this is beautiful. this is what I used to do. This is who I used to be. And something that I had been struggling with. So we were already kind of doing Bridge City stuff here. But what I had been struggling with is that I've always wanted to continue the music component of community. Because I even tell my kids, like, I still enjoy gospel music, even the new songs, even though I don't always like the lyrics, because it is community music. It is music for the sake of community. It is all different people can participate in it. You know what I'm saying? And it's always supposed to be inspiring and uplifting. And there's not many other genres that are committed to that, you know? And so that's it's like a missing link. So for me, that experience unlocked something within me that was just like, oh, I don't need anybody's permission to keep music involved with this. Like, no, I could do this just because I fucking want to. And we do now. Like, so at Bridge City, we have a whole segment called Bridge City Music, where if ain't nothing else, I will jump on the keyboard and take an old worship song and flip that joint and make it healthy and say, there, I fixed it. And so, like, we did a few weeks ago, we did I Give Myself Away, and we changed it to I Give Myself Some Space. You know what I'm saying? We did Here I Am to Worship and changed it to Here I Am to Show Up. And then I heard this new one where they took this old song, like I have decided to follow Jesus, the cross behind me, the world before me. And I was like, oh no, I can fix that. I have decided to follow reason, the cross behind me, the world before me, and I won't turn back. And like we did that today and like had a real good time. So that moment unlocked so much within me, like to the point that when I was flying back home, like I took 2 flights back home. I spent both of those flights writing a song. And that song, like, oh my goodness, like that's crazy.
Years. Like literal years I had not written. And for the first time, even now, today, I was writing music again. I was like, it just feels so good.
It feels freeing, right?
Yes.
Like,
yes. I've got a song for you, Natalie. We talked about it.
Ooh.
Original song.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Male vocalist. We'll get there.
We'll see. Well, since now we're talking about music, let's circle back to LA. All right. So the last time we all saw each other, we were in LA, we were in a studio, and unexpected, unbeknownst to us, that moment that we experienced at RFR, they wanted to take and turn this into an actual production. All right, so tell me, what was that like for y'all? And let's talk about what these moments were like at that studio and what this song is like. Let's give the audience a little bit of insight into what that musical experience was like.
I'll start. As you guys know, and I've told you this before, it was hard for me. As I told you guys in Charlottesville, when you all were gathering around that piano and you were singing worship songs, and you weren't just singing them, you guys were belting them out and you guys were feeling that stuff. And I was like, and I was triggered by that because I was a worship leader myself in my churches, I should say. I was a keyboard player on the worship team. Sometimes I led worship, but I was up there on the stage doing it. And so then when I deconverted from Christianity, I put music away. And I said, I can't do this anymore because of what Natalie said. Like, because if I'm not doing it for God, it has no meaning to me. Like it can't mean to me. It's almost wrong to do it if I'm not doing it for God. And so I put music aside and I said, I have to abandon who I am. I have to abandon what I love. I have to abandon what's in my heart. I have to abandon why I was put on this planet. Because if I'm not serving God with this, we all know, right? It's a clanging cymbal. It's just
come on now. Oh, 1 Corinthians 13. Yes,
Yeah. And so I was dealing with that indoctrination when you guys were. I was like, y'all, can y'all not do this right now? Not because you were.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. I remember how uncomfortable you were.
Yeah, and I was like, I can't be in a room where people are singing these songs and singing them like you guys were pushing them out, right? And so when David and Sean called me up and said, come to LA, we're going to record that song that we co-wrote in the RFR session. I was like, you know what? I got to face this. I know it sounds weird, right? Like, but
no.
It does not sound weird at all.
Yeah.
Nope.
And I've got to be able to come back into a musical environment, and I've got to be able to, I can't play well anymore. I've lost that ability because of my hands and this disease.
Oh, please. No, we heard you play. You can play.
Yeah, okay. Thank you
Like he plays better than me, and there's nothing wrong with my hands. And like he killed it. He killed it.
But I was like, I'm gonna get back in there. I'm gonna get back in there with really solid musicians and a great song to participate in and record. And I did, and it was so therapeutic. And I'll say this because it was with you guys, right? Like if somebody would have just hired me for some random session to come in and play piano, I probably would have struggled with it. But it was because of you guys. It was because of the content of the song. It was because it was part of this. It's going to be part of this documentary. And I was like, okay, if ever I'm going to step back into the recording studio and step back into improvisational performance, it's with you guys and it's for this purpose. And that unlocked the door to say, you know what? It still is there if I want it, and I want it. I want it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
It was really cool to see you playing after having had those moments with you in Carolina, in the recovering from religion, whatever thing that we did. Yeah. Ever since that moment, seeing you play and like feel it and coming from where you were before, and it was just so hard. Like it was such a cool moment to just see like the walls coming down for you, because music is so important to all of us in our own way. And like for me, I've always been a singer, and I've always like been in the choir, the praise team. My last year in church, I literally every single Sunday would just go to church to sing on the praise team and then leave immediately after. Like, wow, because I just love that aspect of so much. Like you said, Darante, so even now I still listen to it because I just love that feeling that it gives you. But it's like changed for me now. So being able to go in there and feel that, like, oh yeah, what I felt that weekend, it wasn't just that weekend. Like it is something that is still I carry with me. So to just be in that room with you guys and just see like the end result of those moments we shared at that retreat, and then seeing you, HG, be able to like rediscover your love of music and not feel that pressure again, or like just just face it. It was really cool to be able to witness that.
Yeah. I'm gonna tell your viewers, y'all, if you haven't heard Darante sing and Natalie sing, y'all are in for a real treat.
Oh,
and I'll tell you,
if y'all don't know, woo, he got some pipes. Oh, y'all gonna hear him. I'm gonna just throw a little teaser out there because he's got my favorite part of the song, and he's showing up. Okay.
I heard some singing, Darante. I think I heard some singing while you were rolling the intro to this show tonight, right? Like, that little reel that was put together. I was like, I know that voice. I reckon.
Oh, so good.
Give me the same goosebumps.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
But I'll tell you what, Alan, AT was in that studio letting
man.
And I was like, all right.
A joy to watch.
Tell us about that, man.
Joy to watch, please.
Man, what was that like for you? AT, man.
Well, yeah, I'm not compared to y'all, I'm not a singer at all. I did it at church till, I led the congregation sometimes because we didn't have, but it felt nice to just kind of get funky. just belt out some stuff. I doubt very much of it probably made it into the finished product, but it was, I'd never done that before, and now I can't say that anymore.
Viewers aren't getting the full story.
I thought it went. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say the viewers aren't getting the full story here because Alan was in the live room, and if you don't know what a studio like, the live room is where tracking live instruments or vocals or whatever, and then they're separated by usually a glass wall or whatever, and then the control room, and then the audio engineers are in the control room, and Alan was in there on the live room on the microphone giving it 150%.
Yes.
It's such a degree that the engineer had to get on the mic and say, Alan, that's great, man, we love that, but can you pull back just a little bit? It was so good.
You had that preaching power, man.
I mean that as a compliment, right? I was like, that man
that's called using your diaphragm. I learned that a long time ago. Awesome. I actually blew out speakers one time preaching because I got super excited.
Right? Oh man.
Darante,
But
what
that,
about
because sometimes I'd have to speak when some places where I didn't have a microphone. So you need to be able to do that.
from the
Oh, you got that down. You're good.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Darante, what about you, man? Like, because I wanted to ask you, and when you were in there and you were
Nope.
singing, and it sounded like praise and worship music, like the
Yeah. What were you feeling?
performing. Because I have a worship leader that I worked with a lot that sang just, you guys sound very much alike, and I was like, man,
Wow.
that sounds like my guy that I used to work
I didn't
with.
expect that from you, Darante, at all.
What was that like?
Man. It was
Well, I expected it because I've talked to Darante enough to know that he has a deep well of emotionality in there to really back that up genuinely. Not he wasn't faking it until he made it. He was there.
Every note.
Oh
He
man.
was there. I was vibing to that.
Yeah.
Music is such a major part of my story, and praise and worship was always something that I had an affinity for. And it wasn't just because it was, God music. I like making people feel well. I like creating experiences that people can feel. That was an old Aretha Franklin song, giving them something he can feel. You know what I'm saying? So I like when I do music, I like to do music that actually does something for people, and kind of like going back to what I said earlier, praise and worship has always been that for me. It's that type of music. And so even though I haven't done anything publicly up until recently, over the past 10 years, I've constantly been like reworking praise and worship songs every time I hear them, because like these songs, praise and worship music is such a major part of my life. I've been doing praise and worship since I was 11 years old. I'm now 38, and it's very, and for me, it wasn't just that, like I said, it wasn't just that it was a God thing. I've known since I was very young that I could pick up a mic and sit at a piano and play something that allows somebody to think, introspectively about their own lives and come to some place of clarity or come to some moment of breakthrough. That I could sing a song to such a performative standard that somebody else would have a moment of reflection. And that, to me, that's powerful. And I felt like that was missing from the secular community at large. And so, like, again, after the RFR, that thing kind of just unleashed within me. And so I said, you know what, all this shit that I've just been kind of doing in my head, I'm about to start doing out loud. I'm about to bring it to the forefront. I'm just going to make way for it. If I got to be the only person doing it, I'm going to do it. And so when they called us and was like, hey, we're going to make this a song, I was like, bro, you ain't said nothing but a word. You know what I'm saying? Now, I am a person who is intentionally, I'm ambiguous. So you really never know what I'm going to do. And that's just me being my authentic self. I'm just going to be me. And when the moment comes, we're going to see what happens. But when I was in there, I was just like, okay, this is your moment. Sing it like you mean it, bro. And that's what I did. And it felt so good to do that. But then I was scared once I came out. And because I came out and I can be aloof. And so I come out and I walk into the control room and everybody's quiet. And then I see Natalie crying. And then I'm like, oh, so we've had a whole moment, and I wasn't necessarily, ready for that. Now, had I been still back in my preacher days, I probably would have came in there praying with the oil and everything. I would have been ready for that moment, But I was like it was, I think that was powerful for me because it was a reminder that, yes, it's not God that does the moving. These are human moments. These are people moments. And that was just beautiful to see how everybody came around in that moment. It was incredible for me, man. It was incredible.
Yeah.
Agreed.
My amygdala sees your amygdala, and we are vibing together.
Yes.
Man just said amygdala. All right.
Oh, man.
I can say hippocampus, too, if you want me to.
Yeah. That reminds me of hijacked amygdala. Yeah.
All right. So I do have to ask this. This is the big question because I don't think we've hit this at all tonight. And anybody who wants to start can start it. what actually was it that led to your deconversion? This is the money question right here, isn't it?
Well, I'll start it. When I, long story, try to make it short. The first thing that led to my deconversion was I realized the Republicans were not the party of family values in 2006 because they had a big sex scandal, and turns out the leadership of the Republican Party was sheltering all these sexual predators.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, you remember that. Now
Yep.
that was the first nail. Second nail was I read a book by a guy named Frank Schaeffer called Crazy for God. Now, Frank Schaeffer's father was a man named Dr. Francis Schaeffer, who was a big deal in the 70s and early 80s before he died of cancer. And they were the guys that were instrumental in getting the evangelicals to hop on the Catholic abortion wagon, anti-abortion wagon.
Wow.
And Schaeffer, in his book, he talked about how, in hindsight, looking back at all this, part of it was an apology for doing that to evangelicals. And the second part was how bad these people were, like Jerry Falwell, even Billy Graham, and he named a whole bunch of people. James Dobson said they were actually really bad people. He gave names, he gave address. I mean, the whole shebang. It wasn't just hearsay stuff. And he talked about a variety of things along that. So I realized with the Republicans, I couldn't trust them anymore. So I have not voted for a Republican since 2006. I always vote for Democrats. So I became a Democrat first. Then I realized I couldn't trust any of these big gun preachers like John MacArthur and Billy Graham and Jerry Falwell that I'd always been told, oh, these are mighty men of God that you need to look up to and emulate. And it's like, I can't do that. And then the third nail in my third event was in 2008. I went and saw a lecture at our local junior college by a guy named Dr. Michael Shermer. I don't know if any of y'all have heard of him or not.
Oh, I love Shermer.
Shermer, yeah, okay, Shermer. Well, he gave his talk about why people believe weird things, and they have a video in there, and he tells people, okay, now these people are going to be passing basketballs around. All the men, I want you to watch the guys passing, let's say, the red basketball, and all the women, I want you to watch the people passing the blue basketball around. And generally, women do better at this, is what he said. So he's playing the video, and I'm watching the basketball get passed around. And then when it's over, he says, "Okay, how many of y'all saw the guy in the gorilla suit?" I'm like, "What? Guy in a gorilla suit? What the hell is he talking about?" So he backs it up, and sure enough, there's a man walks out there in a gorilla suit, stops in the middle of all these basketballs being passed around, waves, and then just walks off. And his point is that our ability to perceive reality is limited because we can't always concentrate on everything that's going on. If we're concentrated and focused on one thing, we'll miss stuff that goes on outside of you, your area of concentration. And that made me realize that all these religious perceptions that I had over the years, they might not be true. I need to step back and look at why are these things that I believed. Like, I very clearly remember hearing a voice when I finally surrendered to the ministry. I was sitting in a church listening to a director of missions preach, and I remember hearing a voice saying, you need to go ahead and commit. And it's like, they'll actually say, oh, this is God. You can go ahead and ignore me, and I'll put you up on the shelf and I won't bother you anymore. That was what I heard.
Wow.
And I realized, because I started reading a bunch of psychology and neuroscience and stuff about how your brain works and how, those kind of things, your brain just generates stuff.
Yep.
So then the next thing that came along was I started doing a lot of research into atheist stuff. I read Dawkins' book. I read Hitchens' book. I read Sam Harris's book. I read a bunch of other guys that I'd never heard of before. And what finally made me deconvert was I found a website, and it was called Why Doesn't God Heal Amputees?
Ooh.
I had my parents were on the verge of getting Alzheimer's and stuff like this, and they were having problems and things. And so this is like 2000, 2009. I read that and I realized, how many people have I buried that had Alzheimer's, and their spouses and their kids just, their hearts were ripped out by their parent or their love, their wife or their husband. And I realized, this is terrible. And supposedly we serve this loving God, and yet there is zero evidence of him ever growing a limb back. Look, if America's God's country and all this, how come all these soldiers get their limbs blown off don't just grow back? And these people that die with Alzheimer's, because that was another thing they talk about. And I realized I can't believe this stuff anymore. And this was in like January of 2010.
Wow.
And that was when I realized, because I never really engaged with the stuff in the Bible as much as I engaged with my ability to perceive things and my ability to interact with reality. It was after that I started to look at the Bible in a whole different way and realize that it's just fairy tales and a big mean-spirited advertisement for a abusive boyfriend / husband / other person, and that none of it makes any sense. Okay, it tells me, I've seen this meme around. It says, well, boys can't become girls, but this snake talked, and this donkey talked, and the sun stopped in the middle of the sky. Those things you can believe, but you can't believe this other stuff. And I'm like, that's insane.
Come on now. Yes, sir.
That is insane. I can believe all this mumbo jumbo folktale junk, but I can't believe something that is been proven and discussed by science, that gender is a.
Oh man.
Some people just do not feel comfortable in their assigned sexuality, all those kinds of things.
Yes, sir.
And so I realized, I can't trust this stuff anymore. It's not, it's irrational. That's the word I would use, irrational.
Man,
and so
I love it.
Yeah. And so that was in 2010. And then because my parents were getting down, I went ahead and stayed in the pulpit until 2016 when I got outed. Because first of all, I didn't love Donald Trump. That was kind of a requirement at my church. And Deacon came up to me and he said, Brother Coffee, I need to talk to you. And I said, well, what? No, never mind. I said, okay, what do you want? He said, well, preacher, we know you don't like Donald Trump. First of all, nobody cares what you think. Nobody cares what you have to say. If you don't vote for Donald Trump, even if you don't actually vote for Hillary Clinton, you're voting for Hillary Clinton, and that makes you a baby killer, and we don't need you around here.
Man.
And so they found out I did a pagan wedding for some friends of mine who were atheists, and that was ultimately what got me run off.
Wow.
Because they hauled me into the director of missions office, and they had found my secret group for atheists I had founded for the people in Victoria that I knew who were atheists. And they said, is this yours? Because, obviously it has me up here giving the welcome and all that. And I thought for just a second I could say, hey, that's hey, you found my honey pot. To get the atheists in, set a trap for them. And I thought for a split second I could trot that out there. And then I thought, nah, I'm tired of this. And I just said, yeah, that's mine. I'm an atheist. I've been an atheist since 2010.
Wow.
And they, although I have to admit, the director of missions seemed to be genuinely upset, but
Oh
the
yeah.
other ones were, they were like, oh yeah, we knew you were having problems, preacher.
They were glad to
Okay.
get rid of you.
Yeah. And they said, you need to resign. I said, okay. And I resigned. And that was
Well,
on
in the
22nd.
spirit of what you shared, Muttley, one of my favorites from over the pond, Muttley's a part of our community. He gave us a super chat tonight, and he said he's still waiting for his leg to grow back. Just in the spirit of what you said, and that's such a real thing that so many people don't think about. And I used to be a healing preacher, so like I remember wrestling with that after a while, where I pulled away from that movement long before deconverting. Making the decision that I would no longer declare that God heals anybody. Like if God was going to heal anybody, he was going to have to do it on his own time, because I wasn't going to say he was going to do it, because I felt it was irresponsible to do any event where a handful got healed and the majority left unhealed, having to wonder, did God not love them? And as me, like I was like, oh, I can't do that. I'm not. So God, if you want to heal somebody, you're gonna have to do that, bro, because I can't set nobody up for that. And like, so I definitely remember going through that. Man, all right. So
I was a hardhead, because I had people in my church who wanted me to get on that bandwagon, even though we're all old time Baptists, and it's like, get on the name it and claim it prosperity gospel.
Yes.
I just would not do it. I said, if you ask anything in my name, I'll do it for you. But it says, another place, if you ask it according to my will, and it's like,
yes, sir.
So yeah, I wouldn't jump on. I did, and that guy, he fought me to get on there, tried to get until the day he died because of his faith. He had diabetes, and he would not do what the doctor told him to do, because God was going to heal him.
Oh man,
bro, and he literally died because of his faith.
Oh, that's a whole book right there. Dying for my faith. That's a whole book. Oof.
And he was he was a super salesman.
I bet he was. He sold himself diabetes. I mean, like, yikes. I'm sorry. I have a dark comedic side.
Well, he always, people would say, how's your diabetes? Don't put that on me. I haven't got diabetes. That was his response.
Oh, bro, I didn't put that on you. That chicken put that on you. You did that to yourself, sir. And I say that I come from a whole family of diabetics. It's surprising that I don't have diabetes. It's surprising. As y'all know, I was 580 pounds at my biggest. And so I'm absolutely shocked that I don't have diabetes. I do wrestle with high blood pressure, hypertensive. Even at my highest, my numbers were over 280. So I understand what that's like. It wasn't until I became an atheist that I was just like, hey, bruh, you have to make decisions that work better for your life. And it took me a while to get there, because so much of my life was about faith. So much of my life was about God. And so much of my life was about being a martyr and being a sacrifice, that health really didn't matter for such a long time.
Hell yeah. Oh, hell yeah. I know what you're talking about there. Go to the hospital all the time to visit people.
Yes. Man. All right, so Natalie, HG, what led to your deconversion? What was that straw? What got you to this place where you'd be willing to participate in a documentary called Heathens?
I think for me, like most of my life, I was oblivious until it was too late. It started with like one thing that I would question, and then I'd be able to justify it some way. I remember at one point reading something that the word homosexuality didn't even, or the concept of homosexuality as today didn't even exist when the Bible was written. And I hyper focused on that for months, because it didn't make sense to me that we could live as if that was the truth, and that wasn't even a concept back then. And so somehow I was able to dismiss it. And then I became this person who was like, oh, well, all religions are just a different branch on the tree of truth. They all lead to God somehow. So I was okay with like discarding some parts of the Bible, because it's written by man. So of course it's fallible, but you just have to understand the truth behind it. You have to discern what God is actually trying to say to you, and don't really rely on the words of man. And then it just became like, I was excusing another thing and just things stopped making sense. And it was like I was in a boat that was like slowly getting holes drilled into the bottom, and I didn't realize. And then when I looked around, I was like, oh, this ship is sinking. It's like there's no saving it. So I had no choice but to hop out because I could not save it. I could not go back to believing the things that I had just dismissed for so long. So yeah,
Wow.
I don't know the moment that happened. It was just my moment thing that just became too big to ignore, and I just couldn't go back.
Man, that's powerful.
That's yeah.
Powerful.
For me, it was to live, to survive. So in 20, I was diagnosed with this rare neuromuscular disease, untreatable, uncurable. It's called Charcot-Marie Tooth, the last name of 3 French guys that discovered this genetic disease process back in the 1800s. It's a type of muscular dystrophy. Nobody's probably ever heard of it. I'd never heard of it. I thought I had ALS when doctors were kind of poking and prodding me and saying, one doctor said I had something ominous going on in my body that was neuromuscular. And I've been an athlete my whole life. I'd been, a quarterback, a baseball player, could never run very fast, jump very high, and I wasn't real coordinated with my feet, but I could do everything else excessively well. And so I was a pretty good athlete. And then I was actually training for triathlons when I pulled something in my hip, and I went in to see an orthopedic specialist thinking I just need some physical therapy. And that's when he discovered I had some strange muscle weakness that I shouldn't have. And I didn't know it. And they pointed it out, did some exercises with me and stuff that I couldn't do. And I was like, I never knew I couldn't do this until now. That's when the doctor said, yeah, you've got something ominous. That was his word, ominous. And that's an important word. And it's neuromuscular. We don't know what's going on. We got to get you back in for a full neurology workup in a couple of weeks. So for a couple of weeks, I work in a healthcare system. When somebody says ominous and it's neuromuscular, you immediately go to ALS, amyotrophic sclerosis, or Lou Gehrig's disease. That's what I thought I had. I went home and I told my wife, we need to get prepared for my death in 3 to 5 years. That's probably when it's going to happen. And it's going to be a hard 3 to 5 years to get up, those 3 to 5 years are going to be very hard. And I said, I think I was just told today I have ALS without them actually saying it, because I still need to get some tests done. And she's like, well, let's not jump to conclusions. Let's wait and see. And so, and then I was like, I think I'm going to be dying soon. And I became terrified of heaven.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, and it's not until you face your mortality that all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, why am I afraid of heaven? I've been a God-fearing Christian for 25 years of my life. Couldn't wait to go to heaven. We talked about it in Bible studies. I've written songs about it. And all of a sudden I feel very afraid for that, very afraid about going to heaven. And by the way, this is episode 10 in my religious trauma series. If you really want
Yes.
else on that, you can hear me break down terrified of heaven. We don't have time to do it here, but after I was diagnosed with this rare neuromuscular disease, which my doctors also called a wasting disease, I read in Deuteronomy. I read in Deuteronomy, which I had read before, but it never really connected. But in Deuteronomy, God gives the Israelites wasting diseases if they're disobedient to him and don't follow his commands. And when I read that, I was like, God did this to me. God is giving me a wasting disease because I'm somehow disobedient and or evil, or both of those things. And this is his wrath being doled out on me because of something. And I went into the darkest, deepest, most anxiety-ridden, depression-ridden tailspin of my entire life. I believe God was trying to say, I hate you. You're evil. This is why I'm giving you this wasting disease, just like I gave my Israelite children way back when. My commands. I brought up the scripture before about the dishonorable God creating vessels for dishonorable use, which is in Romans. And I remembered my childhood sexual abuse, and I'm like, oh, this is all adding up. God's hated me from the beginning.
Oh no!
Wow.
No
Oh,
matter how many praise and worship songs I led in church, no matter how many Bible studies with prisoners, ex-prisoners that I led, no matter how many youth I counseled, no matter whatever, he's like, I am done. And by the way, coming out of my sexual abuse, and I admit this here, and this is part of my story, I developed a porn addiction that I was able to sort of get beyond the more I
Yeah.
committed to Christ. And I said, hallelujah, Jesus has saved me. But I always had that, the devil and the demons were attacking me with thoughts of previous thoughts I'd had, about porn and this and that. It never, like every day was a constant battle with the dark forces of evil because of
Man.
previous porn addiction or whatever. And so anyway, couple all of that, pull all that together into a package. And when I got diagnosed with this disease, I was like, God's done with me. He definitely hates me. I felt I was evil. I believed I was the Antichrist. And I went into a dark, depressive tailspin of anxiety. Talk about blood pressure. My blood pressure shot up because I was so terrified. I had to get on blood pressure,
Man.
get on anti-anxiety meds. I couldn't sleep. Here I am, a director in a healthcare system with a team of people. How I made it through every day and like maintained a persona of a guy who's got it together, I honestly don't know. But for a couple of years, I lived in this extreme anxiety state, and I was ready to commit suicide. I couldn't take it anymore. I said, but I
Man.
did suicide because I was too afraid of going to hell because I believed God was going to
wow.
send me to hell now.
Oh,
So I did. So I literally didn't I was like, I guess I got to sustain this. And so it was when I started thinking about what is the Antichrist? Why do I think I'm the Antichrist? Like what does
Yeah.
that really mean? And I went back through scriptures, and once I started reading scriptures again and really trying to understand why is there an Antichrist in scripture? What is all this? I started really making the connection between God and Satan, and why do we need a Satan? And I do whole videos on this in my religious trauma series, but I started deconstructing this totally irrational and ridiculous idea of God. People will say he didn't create Satan. Satan rebelled and blah blah blah. He just whatever. It's all God's plan. It's all God's cosmic rules. It's all God's doing. He's sovereign. Is he sovereign or is he not sovereign? Right. And so the idea that we have a perpetuated, sustained Satan in our existence to deal with, who has over the earth, and so do the demons God sentenced to the earth to have dominion. And I know some stripes of Christianity don't believe that, but the
Man.
one I was in, the fundamentalist Protestant Christianity that I was in, believed that and taught that. And so I was like, wait a second, and in order to save my life, in order to pull myself off the suicide bed, I had to really look at this stuff and go, I don't know that it actually makes sense now that I think about it. And if I want to live, if I want to survive, I have to get rid of this anxiety and depression that's associated with my trying to be obedient and stay attached to God and try to understand his character and his motives and all that stuff. And so that's what did it for me, right? And then
Wow.
I deconverted into shadows. Nobody knew I was doing it. I didn't read books. I read Dan Barker's Godless and then some of the other authors that you guys have mentioned much later after I already came to the conclusion, like, this is actually absurd and ridiculous. I felt stupid and ashamed that I had not only believed this for so long, but that I taught it. I convinced other people. I witnessed to other people. I brought them into Christianity. And I was like,
Yep.
oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And I'm still in a situation right now where others around me believe I'm still a Christian, and that's a whole nother story. But so the other question you asked, Darante, I want to go back to something that Natalie said, because I'd love to hear y'all's opinion on this, is here we are, right? Here are the four of us heathens, right? It's a documentary called Heathens, right? And if you don't know what that word means, it just really means somebody who doesn't believe what the current, trending culture believes in. It's that they want to go their own way or a different way. They don't ascribe to the beliefs of the common culture or whatever. It doesn't necessarily mean a heathen is a pagan, is a Satan worshiper, is whatever. It can mean that, but it doesn't mean that. So here we are, all part of the Heathens documentary on this show right now with you, Darante. And pretty soon that documentary is going to launch. How the world will see it. And they'll be like, who are these 5 people speaking out against Christianity? And we'll be I'm assuming, maybe I'm projecting, vilified, will be, will be exiled from whatever. Who knows really what and I've weighed all that cost, right? I'm like, is that really what I want in my life? Do I really want to be publicly speaking out against Christianity? To Natalie's point, I'm like, I could have just deconverted and walked away and kept silent about it. Nobody asked me to write my book, to participate in this. Well, the producers asked me to participate. Could have said no, right? So why are we doing like this? It's not like we're just having a casual conversation about the bad things about Christianity. Like we're public faces of this, right? And there are plenty of other content creators that are also public faces of this whole deconstruction and deconversion movement. But are you guys thinking of the fallout? Like, are you prepared for that? Do you believe there will be any? Maybe you don't think there will be. I know in my life there's going to be a ton, and I don't know. That's going to be a day of reckoning I don't know that I'm ready for, and I don't know how to prepare for that. It's quite terrifying, to be honest with you. People that are very close in my family and whatever else. All hidden from them. H.G. Roberts is a pseudonym, just so everybody knows, right? That's not the real me, but I'm doing that as a protective measure. And so what does that mean to you guys? Like, I'm very curious about that, and I'd love to be encouraged by what you have to say about that. I deal with that every day. I'm like, why am I doing this? What? No, I don't have to.
I thought about some fallout. Specifically, I was concerned about my career, my non-existent acting career. I've got 7 credits on my IMDb, but I had a thought that is this going to be a bad thing for my career? Am I going to not get jobs anymore because I'm openly speaking out about this? Every single award show that I go to, they have to thank God. First and foremost, I want to thank God. It's always the thing. So I felt like, am I setting myself up for failure here? But I've been the black sheep my entire life. So I don't feel like the people that are closest to me in my life that I care about the most, I'm not worried about them turning on me. So I think ultimately I'll be fine. But worst case scenario, absolute worst case scenario, if it just goes poorly, my life falls completely apart, and it's just unbearable to live with people knowing that I am no longer Christian, I'll just pretend to be Christian again, and I'll just grift, and I'll just pretend that God saved me, and that'll be how I make my living.
Really? Wow. Okay.
Powerful conversion story.
Exactly, right? She used to be an atheist. She used to be a heathen, and now look at her. I'm not worried. I'll be all right. Because guess what? How are they going to know? How are they going to know?
Did we lose Darante?
Acting.
Oh, acting, exactly.
Where'd Darante go?
I don't know. Well,
I can see all you guys. No,
I can see y'all, but I can't see Darante.
Is it still on YouTube?
I don't think the show is in.
It says live up at the corner, so I presume we are.
Oh, okay. Oh, wait. I see us.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure what I'm going to do because I live. You have the advantage at least of living in Los Angeles, California,
right?
Natalie.
Yeah.
I live in deep South Texas where they take their God very seriously. I mean, and their Donald Trump and everything else. Because I know, the town just north of here. It's like they have a shrine to Donald Trump in the middle of town. I had to drive past it because occasionally I still do weddings and funerals. And I did a wedding not too long after we were in Charlottesville, and I rented a car and drove through this little town. And it's like these people are serious about their right-wing conservative stuff. And I don't know what's going to happen if it gets to be public knowledge that, hey, we got atheists living out here. I'll bet there's some more. Let's see if we can hunt them down, round them out. I haven't had any fallback from being the guy who keeps saying that the reason why the mosque got burnt down was because of white supremacy here in Victoria on that other documentary I'm in. But I don't know. I mean, I guess I could have shoot it out till they, finally shoot me. I don't want to do that because I'm a pretty I'm not one of these guys who wants to go around blowing stuff up and things like that. I've been getting more public. One of the results of going to Los Angeles was, I've been being more public about my atheist position. I never have been one to advertise it, but I kind of looked at it like I'm not going to advertise, but I'm not going to deny I'm an atheist either.
Yeah.
But I've been starting to post stuff on my various social media feeds that are a little bit more in your face and stuff. But I really don't know what, I have no idea, because I'm sure there will be fallout.
Yeah.
I mean, I've already experienced fallout. I'm pretty sure I lost a job because, well, I know I lost one job because I'm an atheist, but I got another job like 3 years later, and it started going south after some lady asked me. She'd been out at the church I used to pastor for a funeral, and she said, why aren't you the pastor out there anymore? They told me you're an atheist. Are you an atheist? And I said, well, yeah, I am. And that was about the same time I started catching lots of flack from the I was working in the public library here. I'd gotten a job in the public library, and I started catching all sorts of shit from the person who was my boss.
Yep.
And then they just fired my ass 4th of December. I lose my 18-year gig on November 22nd, the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. And then I lose this other job, just before Christmas, basically.
Wow.
But I couldn't find another job after that. And then COVID came along, and it's like, well, I don't really want to be out there anyway with diabetes and all that.
For sure.
So.
For me, the fallout has already happened.
Yeah.
I remember years ago when I was a little younger, Jesse Duplantis, back in the day, he preached a message. Yeah. Oh yeah, Jesse Duplantis. He preached a message, and it actually it resonated with me, and it sticks with me to this day. And he tells this funny story, which is probably made up because most preacher stories are fictitious. But the end of the story was embarrass sin before it embarrasses you, right? So I've kind of lived by that principle in life. Like, even when I was a preacher, if I did something that somebody could use against me, I was going to let you know. I was going to let everybody know before anybody else could bring it to me. And so by the time I got to 2024, that's where I was at. I was all ready to say, hey, I'm about to let it be what it be and let the chips fall where they may. I was at that moment, like, me coming out of the closet was also about a dissatisfaction with staying in. It was about a dissatisfaction of the relationships that I still had. It was about a dissatisfaction with those conversations. And so for me, when it came to the fallout, I was more so at that place to just let, you know what? Anything that is not for me, I am ready for it to burn. I am ready for everything that has been ornamental and not functional in my life. I am ready for it to burn. And so, like, I've already burnt so many bridges. Let them go. I've let them go. I've lost my relationship with my parents. I've lost a relationship with much of my family. And for me, it's not even a loss. It's a choice for them. It's whatever they want to do. I'm going to be me, and I'm going to live authentically. And what I realized is I lived so much of my life in a cage. So for me, like, if there is any more fallout for me, I'd be surprised, but I wouldn't be moved by it. I am so free in this place in my life. And I'm finally at a place where I have clarity about how I'm actually helping. And, when I was a pastor, it was always, am I helping? Am I making a difference? God, is this really what you want me to do? And now, as a secular humanist, as a full-blown atheist, I have a good sense of clarity about the moves that I'm making in life. And so I just feel okay with it. As a matter of fact, I'm excited about it, Oh, man.
That's good. Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
Where did Natalie go?
She dropped for a minute. Hopefully she'll be back with us. We'll see.
Because I know I my whole screen disappeared a while ago, and I had to reboot, and it was wild.
Oh yeah. Technology is something serious. Well, like I want to kind of piggyback on that question then and kind of shoot back. Like, other than the fallout, what are some positive things that you hope will come from this documentary, whether personally or just for other folks?
Well, first and foremost, for me, it's I use this phrase in my own work, my own life, like the person quivering in the corner, because that's how I was for many, many years. I was just hiding in the corner, in the shadows, quivering with fear over a lot of different things. And I know there are other people doing that too, that are quivering in the metaphorical corner, so to speak.
Yeah.
And they don't know how to talk about this. They don't even know what this is, right? They don't even have the vocabulary in their own mind to know that they're suffering, why they're suffering, whether they're feeling guilt or shame or depression or anxiety or fear, or cognitive dissonance around, their belief system. And what they do. And there's Natalie. Welcome back.
Yay, welcome back. I was worried about you there.
It was not the rapture. I'm still here.
Okay.
Oh, good.
That's good. But what people do is probably what we all did for a while when they experience cognitive dissonance is they normalize it, right? And they think,
yes,
this must be what every Christian goes through at some point in their lives, or any human being goes through at some point in their lives, the doubt, the questions, the skepticism that they feel. And so I think what I want more than anything is for people to start connecting those dots and say, if I had an adverse childhood experience and I'm dealing with religious trauma, there's got to be a connection there. Maybe a HG story will help me put that together and realize that there is a way out. There is a way of thinking through this that can actually bring relief and bring healing and bring understanding. And I don't have to suffer. I don't have to suffer in a belief system that's actually exacerbating the trauma and the symptoms of the trauma that I experience. It's actually exacerbating that, and I don't even know why. I can't even almost identify that that's what's happening. But now I can see that that's what's happening, and there's a way out. There's a way through that. That's what I hope for me personally comes out of this documentary. That's positive.
Wow. And Natalie, I know you're just joining us back, so I don't know if you got to hear, but the question you did hear. Okay, all right. All right. Then.
The thing that ideally I would love to get out of this project and being part of it, I would love to be an example to people. The fact that you can live a life that's full and complete and happy and free without religion, that you don't have to be like terrified of it, or like afraid to even question because of what your life can look like if you do turn away from it. I just want to like be an example of like, I'm still the same person that I was before. Like I still have the same values and morals. I haven't fundamentally changed. It's just I don't believe in that anymore, and my life is just as fulfilling, if not more so, in so many different ways. And I really just want to be an example of that.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Man, that's beautiful. Man. What about you, AT?
Well, I want other preachers out there to know that, if they stop believing, they don't have to be, they don't have to live that way. They don't have to live like I did for 6 years. They can, the younger they come out, the better off you are, because, I was 56 when it happened to me, and I was already on the very short end of hireability. But if you start early, if you go ahead when you realize you don't believe this crap, bail out earlier, you can make it. I want people to understand that Christianity is not the be all and end all that so many of the preachers make it out to be. And I also hope they'll understand the harm it causes. What I resonate with HG's situation. I didn't have quite the the no carrot. Excuse me, my dog is going off.
Your dog's name
Yo,
is Carrot.
Oh, I love that. I love that. All right. So, well, I will share. Well, he's back. He's back.
Okay, here I'm back now. I'm back.
Yes.
But I resonate with what HG was talking about. Just I didn't have quite the negative experiences he had, but you know, my father was very narcissistic and very much a bully. And even though I'm the oldest son, my younger brother was the golden child, so I couldn't do anything right. You know, I got overlooked all the time. You know, I was just treated kind of like garbage. I was sexually abused by my female cousins when I was a little bitty kid, with the help of my brother.
Oh wow!
I was the kid that was bullied from the first grade all the way through senior in high school. You know, because why not beat up on the undiagnosed autistic kid? Yeah. So I can relate to those childhood negative childhood events, and it really messed my adult life up in a lot of ways and made me very, very vulnerable to being sucked into religion and becoming a pastor, because even though I did not realize it, I realized that, you know, I didn't phrase it this way in my head, but looking back at it now, I was trying to please God like I was trying to unsuccessfully please my father. Yes. I couldn't do anything right. And I hope people can see that religion is not the unending good that everybody says it is. It's negative. It has lots of negativity involved with it. It's dangerous. It's not all happy, touchy feely. Ooh, Jesus loves you, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it can really hurt you. I regret many of the sermons I preached when I was a pastor, because, you know, I was a fundamentalist. A lot of times pretty much mostly a Calvinist fundamentalist. I finally got past the point where I emphasized, you know, HG was talking about the whole basically double predestination. You know, God chooses who he wants to send to heaven, and he also chooses who he wants to send to hell. And those are the vessels of wrath prepared for destruction, you know, and that always bothered me, even when I was in my most hardcore Calvinist stage, because that just, you know, if God is love, then how is that love? Yeah. And of course, you know, Calvinists have a big convoluted explanation for all that, which basically boils down to you're just too stupid to understand. He's God, get over it. You know, it's love whether you think it is or not. Yeah. But yeah, I hope that, you know, seeing my story and seeing that even somebody who was as committed to religion as I was a minister for 32 years. Wow. I finally realized there was something wrong with it, and I got out.
Wow. Yes, sir. Man. Well, you know, I want to thank you all for coming tonight and just sharing your time with us. Like, this has been absolutely amazing. I'm gonna close it out just kind of with my answer to that question as well. Because my answer, you know, in the beginning, what I was kind of expecting to come from this documentary was just other people to know that atheism is a choice, you know. I do kind of, or as an option rather, I do kind of view myself as a person who exists in a sense to kind of popularize secularism and atheism. I was struggling when I first joined the documentary with what that would mean for me and what that would look like for me. And after the documentary, I feel like I've kind of gotten that more concretized. And that started at the RFR retreat for me, at the excursion, primarily with you, Alan. When you stood up there in the bonfire and talked about your life being a waste, I immediately thought about the work that I was doing with BridgeCity Global, and it became like, no, I'm going to make sure that man's life is not a waste. Because if you ever get to have a conversation with Alan, he is a brilliant mind. I mean, this man has read more than most people have forgotten, you know. And it's like, this is why, like, I was super ecstatic to have him on the Ex-Pastor call-in show, and it won't be the last one that I have him on with us. When I got to talk with HG and see like the real struggle that he's been through over the years, like this wasn't just something like, oh, I don't believe in God, I'm walking away. This man prayed, this man fasted, this man sought the Lord and put his best in and has tried to find value. And when I, you know, hearing these stories and relating with people, I'm like, no, this is why I do the work that I do. Because I think so many people have this mistaken image of people who get involved in ministry. And they think that everybody who gets involved in ministry is just in it for money, or is just in it for fame, or is just in it for sex, or whatever the fuck. But I've met some genuine people who were in it because they believed it, who were in it because they wanted to help people, who were in it because they thought this was the best vehicle. And then to watch them afterwards, I'm like, no, these people need a place to go. These people need a place to be. These people they need to still feel like they're valuable. And so then I got to meet Natalie. Man, I wish Sarah was here so I could talk about her too, but I'll get her next time. But I got to meet Natalie, and I got to, because Natalie's fresh, you know, like the rest of us, this has been like years for us. We've been wrestling with it and dealing with it. And for her, she was in the middle of her deconstruction while going through this, and hearing her cry for community, seeing that weight on her shoulders. That's just like, I just want to be me with people and still feel loved and still feel valuable and still do the things that I love to do. What has really come out of this for me is just like a resolve to like, yeah, let's do this. Let's make this happen. Like, it's because of y'all that my community is doing our first on-site event in Raleigh in April. It's because of y'all. Y'all did that. You know what I'm saying? Because like, I wasn't going to make no moves like that this quick. I was just like, nah, let's just see how this goes. But from between the Heathens documentary, the Recovering from Religion excursion, and then that last trip where, like, damn, we went to church together. You know, we had full-on atheist church together, or agnostic church together, non-believing church together, you know. And it was a beautiful moment. We've cried together, we've laughed together, we've held each other up. And that's when I was a pastor, that's all I ever wanted. Yeah. Was to be a part of something that was actually helping people and that was healthy. And y'all have helped me see that that is a real possibility. And so I want y'all to understand that I'm going to be blowing all y'all lines up and pulling on you every chance I get. As a matter of fact, y'all don't know it yet, but I'm doing everything I can to increase our budget so we can get y'all at the Raleigh event when we do it in April. Because like, we're trying to do live music and everything, you know what I'm saying? Just do the whole damn thing, you know? But I love y'all so much. Like, I could not have imagined getting through this year without having met y'all. I don't like my channel was doing well, right? It was doing well. But after meeting each and every one of you, you have lit a fire in me. You have helped me understand that it's okay to be me, and that I am valuable, and that I am necessary. And that's what that whole experience has been for me. It was validation. As we close out, I just want to let you all say any final words that you have before we roll.
I share the same sentiments. I could not have said it any better. This is what I felt when I first met you, and you are definitely the guy to get it cracking, because you got everything that's necessary to make that happen. And I cannot wait to see where all of you guys take this. And yeah, I just can't wait to see more of you guys and be a part of more of things like this. Find me on social media. Hey, it's Natalie.
Yes.
HEYITSNATHLYE.
And it's in the description for y'all who are a little slow. It's in the description.
Make sure you spell it right and say it.
Mm.
My parting words are: you guys are family to me, because what does Jesus say? I count you as family because no, friends, because a friend knows his master's business, right? Y'all know my business.
Come on now. Yes.
I shared it all with you, so I count you guys as friends, but more than that, I count you guys as family. And so I know they've said things to us about when they're going to premiere this documentary, and they hope we're there to help, premiere it at the various film festivals and whatever else. We'll see what happens with all that, but I could not go through with all that without you guys being by my side. There's just no way. There's just no way. I'm like, all right, if Darante, Natalie, and AT and Sarah are there, I can do this. I can do this because they're my support system, and I know we can get through this together. But I love y'all. I really do. I know we hardly know each other. I mean, we know each other's deepest secrets at this point. But okay, man, what a journey. I would, in a million years, never thought this was going to happen, and certainly not in this. So, man, I'm excited to see what's next with y'all and with us together.
I love it. I love it.
I love all y'all guys. I feel like the grandpa, but I know I'm not that old. Yeah, you're back in my day.
Oh, man.
I don't ever do that, man. I was annoyed the hell out of me when I was younger. Some guys said, "Well, back in my day, we didn't do things that way." Well, you head on back there, old man. But yeah, I y'all have greatly enriched my life, and I hope I have been able to enrich yours, and will continue to be able to enrich yours, because y'all are continuously enriching me, and I really get a lot out of that. I appreciate that. I love y'all.
Wow.
Love you too. All you guys.
Well, listen, Natalie, I know you got to go. I do have one more surprise for y'all. So, Natalie, if you have to drop, you drop whenever you have to. I'll text you afterwards. But I do have one more surprise. Okay. There was someone who spent some time with us while we were at the RFR excursion. And he actually spent a lot of time asking us some questions, really pulling a lot out of us that's going to be featured in the documentary. Well, he was actually in the chat tonight and wanted to come on to ask a question. I saw here it is. Jason is here.
Hey, great to see you again.
You're the man.
Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah,
Jason, welcome aboard, man. How are you feeling, man?
I'm doing well. It's been a while since the excursion. Tried to enjoy the remainder of the year and keep up my volunteering. So it's awesome to see all you guys connecting again, working together, making your community real. So
I love it. I love it. Well, do you have a question for us before we get up out of here, man?
No question. Just want to say hi. I want to shout out to people in the back end who help all this stuff work, like Kyle.
Yes.
And yeah, just, RFR keeps doing what we're doing, which is putting on groups, putting on events, putting on talks. I wrapped up a couple of support group meetings this past week, and just thrilled to see you guys taking the ball and running with it.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And I think I have a conversation coming up with you soon.
At some point we'll coordinate something.
Yes. Awesome.
Hey,
listen.
I hype recovering from religion at the end of every one of my 10 videos in my religious trauma series. And so I think the work you guys do is amazing, and I'm happy to be part of it.
That is
Thanks so much, HG.
That is beautiful.
It's good. It's good to see you, Jason.
Yeah, you too.
You're one of the smartest people I know.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And that's saying a lot, because Alan is smart as fuck. So that is saying a lot. Okay, if y'all didn't know, I cuss a lot on this channel, so I'm just getting you used to it. I grew up on Bernie Mac and Richard Pryor, so this is how it goes. Oh, man. Well, again, I just want to thank everybody for being here tonight. This was absolutely amazing. Everybody who's been here is a major part of my life and has had a major impact on my life. I'm so glad that you are all able to experience it. I can't wait till this documentary comes out so you'll be able to see it yourself. We didn't expect that there was going to be an actual music video attached to it, but now that's going to be there. I don't think any of us expected that we were going to be at the Recovering from Religion Fall excursion, and that we were going to have this intimate moment where Jason was interviewing the fuck out of us in a circle and just pulling out gold. But I'm telling you, I think this is probably going to be one of the most powerful documentaries ever, because it is so diverse. You know, black man, black woman, white girl, older white man, younger, middle-aged white man, younger white man. I'll give you that. I'll give you that, HG. You're the younger white man in this one. But it was a beautiful moment. And what's amazing is that the whole time, I think we all just felt like people. I've shared a little bit about my deconversion story, and honestly, to sum it up, mine was more like Westworld. You know, if you've seen the new version of Westworld, Dolores is going through this whole journey and she's listening to this voice, and this voice is this higher power in her life. And at the conclusion of the story, she eventually realized that the voice she was following was her voice, was her own voice the whole time. And that was my deconversion. My deconversion was wrestling with all of these years. This voice that I've been following was actually my own voice. Every time I thought it was God, every time I thought it was the devil, every time I thought it was anything else, it was just me wrestling with the world around me. And so people often ask me, were you angry at that moment when you realized that everything you believed was a lie? And I often remind people that no, I wasn't. I was relieved. I was liberated. Life finally made sense to me. My whole life as a believer, life never made sense. As hard as I would try to do the right things, it never made sense. As much as I would pray, as much as I would fast, I would call on the Lord. But when it became clear to me that, hey, bruh, there is no God, it's just people, it became really clear to me, like, oh, that's why this shit keep happening. There it is. No mystery. It's just people being fucking people. I need to learn how to pay the fuck attention and stop falling into the same traps. And after that, life, like, whole weight lifted off my shoulder, because I realized, like, I don't have to ignore red flags anymore. I can pay attention to what's going on and follow that. So tonight has been amazing, right? You got to keep a lookout for this documentary. I've dropped everybody's contact information in the description. Sarah wasn't able to make it tonight, but I'm going to let a little secret out the bag. I'm going to let a little cat out the bag, all right? Sarah, stage name is Transviolet. Look that shit up. If you have not heard her music, oh my fucking God, like Freak Like Me is one of my favorite songs in the world. And I'm not talking about Adina Howard's Freak Like Me. You know, y'all know that's the other song. But Transviolet is an absolutely fucking amazing artist. She wasn't able to make it tonight, but please check out our stuff. Everybody's information is in the description. I love y'all. Thank y'all for hanging out with me. I don't know who's in the studio, but please tell me y'all got the stuff for the closing, because I ain't got it in me anymore. But I love y'all so much. Listen, man, please remember we are doing our Raleigh event, BridgeCity Weekends Raleigh, North Carolina, April 19th and the 20th. We're doing Bible study with an ex-pastor. Thank you, babe. Bible study with an ex-pastor, Sunday sessions, and ex-pastor call-in show all on site. We're going to play some games. We're going to have some table games going on. We're going to try to do some sports activities. We're going to have a post-faith house party. We're going to have live music that's affirmational, kind of like a mindfulness type of situation. If you want to know what type of music we're going to have, check out today's Sunday session. Check that shit out. I promise you it was dope. But we're going to be doing all type of stuff, man. We're going to have a really good time building community, and we're not stopping there after Raleigh. We're going to be in Chicago. We're going to be in Detroit. We're going to be in Portland, Oregon. Actually, I'm actually going to be in Portland, Oregon at the top of February. So if any of you are watching in Oregon, I'll let your boy. I'm going to be there for a few days for work. But we'll be in Portland, Oregon. And then we're going to end the year in San Francisco and LA, because you saw the map. I'm going to put the map back on the screen since I'm here. You saw the map, man. We actually have, like, my computer's going slow, so I can't get there. It's not going as fast as I can talk. But we actually have, like, a really solid hub growing in the California area. And so I do want to make sure that we're investing there and that we're building community. And that's our goal. And that's why we ask in every conversation we're having, please let us know. See, somebody knew who Trans Valid was. See, look at that. That's dope. So, and this is how we know where people are. This is how we plan our events. So please let us know. And honestly, everybody y'all saw tonight, I'm trying to do my best to get them involved with everything we're doing, because that's what makes it work. You know, I used to say back in the day, teamwork makes the dream work. But we're a community. We're all in this together. At the end of the day, together we can. Pamoja tunaweza. That's how you say it in Swahili. Y'all know I used to be a black nationalist, so I got that shit in me. But I love y'all so much. Thank y'all for hanging out tonight. If you haven't already, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the alert notification bell, consider joining, supporting, or connecting with this community channel or content in any way that makes sense for you. And hey, share this stream, because I promise you this one tonight is going to make a difference in somebody's life. And of course, we have a shitload of merch that you can check out to help support the vision of building community beyond superstition. And it's a great way to spread our values while having something to support. I think I've said everything that I needed to say. So until next time, keep rising, be the bridge, stay progressive, and if you can, stay beautiful. I'll holler at y'all later. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with us.
I was living my life in the servitude of misunderstandings of people I loved. Giving it all, it was never enough. Because of the fall, I could never get up. I moved on from their misunderstandings. I am no longer standing under them. I was drowning, now I swim, 'cause I found the strength within. I don't need your absent friend, 'cause I got this, yeah, 'cause I got